Says off air. Oh, hey! It says live for the
And-
nobody that watches.
Yeah, we're now live. Great. Episode 33 or something. I don't know. Because I can't remember if this is episode 32 or 33.
I think we're at 32.
I think 32 is the one I'm working on right now. Let me check.
I thought last time you said this is episode 31. Oh, no. You're right. This is episode 33. 32 is what we're working on.
All right.
The last one I listened to.
My shit is so clogged. I'm going to nail this intro, man.
Gone.
Gone.
All
right. I don't think Chris could have done a better job with that. I mean, maybe. All right. Last sip of coffee. Hello, everybody, and welcome to episode 33 of Five Hole Fantasy Hockey Radio. I am TJ Branson. I'm your host tonight, and joined with me this week and every week is Zachary Vogel.
Hey.
So this week we are going to be talking different rankings between centers and defensemen. I think we're going to kick off the episode, just get it out of the way. The Jeff Skinner trade. I mean, obviously it's fantasy relevant, and we just want to, give a quick opinion on that because we don't want to get left to the wind, So what do you think?
Jeff Skinner gone. Jeff Skinner is finally gone.
Gone.
Honestly, so I was telling you before, I was listening to an interview with Tom Dundon, and he said himself that they really did not get back what they were hoping to get.
Yeah, the return seemed like shit.
The return was awful. Like I said, it was a poo trade.
Pun intended, obviously.
It's disappointing from the Carolina standpoint, but I mean from the Buffalo standpoint, they made a hell of a trade.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. They got a guy that they're putting on their first line, and giving away a guy that most hockey people have never heard of.
So we are looking at a top 6 now in Buffalo. It looks like Connor Sherry has been bumped down to the second line. He'll be playing with Casey Middlestat and either Kyle Okposo or shit, I missed it. There we go. So he's going to be playing with either Kyle Okposo or Jason Pominville. The top line right now is Jeff Skinner, Jack Eichel, and Sam Reinhart, Jeff Skinner and Jack Eichel between themselves, they can put up 1,000 shots or at least shot attempts over the course of a season. That's going to be a really high octane first line there. The first power play is going to shake out, at least projected right now via dailyfaceoff.com, is Jeff Skinner, Jack Eichel, Kyle Okposo, Rasmus Dahlin, and Rasmus Ristolainen. So you got the Rasmai on the blue line back there. Let's see if that actually works out that way. You might get one of like Sam Reinhart or Jason Pominville taking that Dahlin spot so that the Rasmai can have their own power plays. But
yeah, you would almost think really that you would want one of each of them on the first, one on the second. And okay, so when this trade happened, I expressed my thought on how the top 6 should play out. And I personally think they're going a little top heavy if they put Jeff Skinner, Eichel, and Reinhart all on the top line. I would personally like to see Connor Sherry up on that top line just to kind of
just balance it out a little bit.
Yeah, balance out that top 6. We've seen in the past couple of years that a top heavy first line just doesn't work. It's not gonna. Yeah. And we're gonna talk about that coming up when we talk about our centers. But that top heavy idea, it doesn't work anymore. You used to be able to just blow teams out of the water because your first line was so much better than everybody else's, and you could ride them because maybe they would score 2-3 goals a game.
Yeah.
That shit doesn't happen anymore. There's teams that have a top 9. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's quickly evolving into a top 9. You need to have that top 9.
So, I mean, I'm just a little worried that they're going a little too top heavy. As far as the trade goes for Buffalo, however, great job.
Yeah, it's a good return. It's definitely an improvement upon what they had last year, or at least what they thought they were going into it last week. But to comment on what you're saying about top heavy, I mean, it's Buffalo, man. Like, they got if they did that, then they would have a balanced top 6, but it would still be a mediocre top 6. So what would you rather have? A intimidating first line, which is just high shooting, high speed, or would you rather have an average top 6? So I think what they're doing is they're banking on that top line to, take a face off. 30 seconds later, they score a goal, and then they can rest while they're announcing the goal and taking another face off, and then just keep scoring goals, and they can stay on the ice for the entire 60 minutes.
I mean, we'll see. I just feel like you're going to run into some heavy defensive teams, especially those defensive first lines that can play the full the full 200, and they're going to run into some buzzsaws.
But this is also dependent on how well Casey Middlestat does in his first year. So he's completely unproven in the NHL. So what we're seeing is a second line of Connor Sherry, Casey Middlestat, and Kyle Okposo. And we're just kind of like, well, there's a lot of question marks there. So the top line looks really good. The second line is still, I mean, Connor Sherry has never played with Kyle Okposo. Kyle Okposo is the only guy that we really know. And Casey Middlestat's coming in. He's like held in such high regard. So he could be really good. And then maybe they do have the top 6 that they've been looking for, or he could just be an average rookie. A lot of it's going to be on Casey Middlestat's back there as far as building a top 6.
And I'm going to end with this point. So you said about how that top line could put 1,000 shots on, no problem. I agree with that. It's going to come down to quality shots, because one thing that I know about Jeff Skinner is he doesn't always take quality shots. He takes a lot of early shots in the play clock, if you will. If we could throw a little basketball reference in there, but like early into the zone, he takes a lot of shots, and that doesn't always work out well because you don't have your offense set up and you don't have your guys where you need them. So, I mean, if you're just throwing pucks on net, it's not really going to help you much.
You just wind up taking a lot of face-offs that way.
Yeah.
So he's just entering the zone, his head's down, and he's just throwing pucks on net. But, I mean, back in Carolina, that puts Svechnikov pretty securely on that top line. And Valentin Zykov has moved up the depth chart. We'll see how he works out on the top line with Sebastian Aho and Svechnikov. It wouldn't be too far of a stretch to see Teuvo Teravainen take over that top line right wing spot, and Zykov and Svechnikov. Hold on, I'll start that over. It wouldn't be too much of a stretch to see Teravainen take over that top line. I got wine on my mind. It wouldn't be too much of a stretch to see Teravainen take over that top line right wing spot, and Svechnikov just to kind of sit on the second line with Martin Necas and Michael Furland as it's projected right now. So we're going to see that, but Valentin Zykov is pretty much a lock on that top line left wing. Carolina, not much changes. I mean, they had Jeff Skinner so far down the depth chart that they're not really hurting from this one. They had him playing with like Derek Ryan and
like Lee Stempniak.
I think it was Derek Ryan and Justin Williams for a lot of the year. I don't even see Stempniak on this list anymore right now.
Oh,
He's
really?
Not on injured reserved. Yeah, I mean their lineups right now are Zykov, Aho, and Svechnikov on the top line, Furland, Necas, and Teravainen on the second, Brock McGinn, Jordan Stahl, and Justin Williams for the third line, and the fourth line is Jordan Martinook, Victor Rask, and Saku Menalanen. Jesus. Maenalanen.
Wow, Victor Rask got put down to the fourth line. Projected. That's
projected. Yeah. The center depth isn't too awesome there, but let's see what Martin Necas has to offer. And Victor S. I mean, he was a good second liner 2 years ago, so having him on your fourth line, that could be a good look. We don't even know. We'll see. But yeah, let's dive into our rankings. For centers, we ranked all the way up to 20, and for defensemen, we ranked to 10. So center depth is pretty heavy, especially in your in Yahoo leagues and stuff like that. You see a lot of centers.
In the league in general.
Yeah, in the league in general. A lot of the best players are centers. They make the most plays. They dish the puck. There's a lot more expected of your centers. And you'll see that. I mean, your 20th best center is probably better than at least ours. The ranking is. My 20th best center is Mikael Granlund, and my 10th best winger was like Evander Kane, and I think it was Pavelski on the other end. So those guys are in the same league, the 20 and the 10, but you get a lot of really, really good players. Like all the top 10 centers right now are first or second round draft picks, in my opinion, at least. And even in the 20, you're not making it like Mikael Granlund could easily be a 6th round draft pick on the low end, Actually, no, that would probably be on the high end. But yeah, man. Do you want to start it off, or do you want me to start it off?
I think you should start it off. Go ahead.
All right, let me look up.
I know you like hearing yourself talk, so I mean, let's.
Somebody's got to. All right, let me look up his stats.
Well, you're going to have to cut that part out. Do you want me to just start?
No. I just want to get it up because I don't have 20 through 15. As soon as we get to 15, I have like write-ups on all these guys. But Granlund, okay. Backstrom, Monahan.
So Sean Monahan is 16 through 20?
Yeah, he's number 18. But I'll probably switch him out for
17, 18, 19, and 20 because Sean Monahan is that awesome along with the rest of the Calgary Flames.
I'll probably put Wild Bill in his place.
Wow, that's a little low.
He's probably going to get 25 goals next year. I mean, Mikael Granlund, right now he's listed as a right wing. So let me make sure when I'm talking about him. I know he's the center.
He is center. You don't have to.
Well, I'm going to look on Yahoo, see if he's got dual eligibility. That'll be something good to talk about. Center and right wing. All right, so my number 20 is Mikael Granlund. Last year and the year prior, he was always he was like pushing on 70 points. He had 67 points this year, 21 goals, 46 assists. The year before that one, 16-17, he had 69 points with 26 goals and 43 assists. This year, he had a career high in shots at a reasonable 10.9%. He had 193 shots on 334 shot attempts. Was playing right around 19 minutes a night. He's not a guy for hits or blocks. He put up less than 50 in both, but he did spend a lot of the time as a right wing. So he does have that dual eligibility, center and right wing. So you're not going to get a lot of face-offs out of the guy. This is a guy I'm looking at pretty much just for offense. Spent last year on the second line, mostly because Jason Zucker was doing so fucking awesome on that top line with Eric Staal and Zach Parise. So Mikael Granlund was playing with like Nino Niederreiter and Mikko Koivu, but really held that line together. I'm looking at him for just pure offense, man. He's a 67-point guy. He's number 20 on my list. He had 19 points on the power play, 7 goals, 12 assists, and had 2 shorthanded goals. So this is a guy you're looking at in all situations. 2 game winners, he had 2 shorthanded assists. He even put in a shorthanded goal, had 2 game winners, 2 shorthanded assists. So this is a guy you're looking at for all situations. He's playing on the penalty kill. He's playing on the power play, and he's playing at even strength with some really, really good supporting cast there. Nino Niederreiter and Mikko Koivu. What do you got on Mikael Granlund? Anything?
I think he's a good player to have at your number 20 spot. He just missed my list. And if I do recall, he was the leading point getter on the Wild 2 years ago. So, I mean, that's going back a little bit, but he definitely has it in him, and we all know that. So, I mean, he almost matched his point total from the year prior. He had 69 points 2 years ago and 67 this year. I think he's one of those under the radar guys and somebody that you can steal in a later round that a lot of people aren't going to kind of really have on their lists, so to speak. So like the number 20 center on our list or yours and somebody who's just outside that list for me, you might be able to get a Michael Granlund at, what would you say, TJ? Maybe the possibly like the 9th or 10th round?
Yeah, I was going to say 8th round, give or take 2 rounds, depending on how high somebody is on him going into this year. But what you were saying about him being the point leader last year, he was in fact the point leader. He had 69 points. But you have so many guys like Eric Stahl had 65 points in the 16-17 year. Mikko Koivu had 58. Niederreiter had a career-high 57 points. Charlie Coyle was doing really well, only 1 point behind Niederreiter. And then this year, he was only off from Eric Stahl, who had a just wild year, 42 goals.
Who had 76 points this year.
Yeah, 76 points. He was only, 7 points behind him. So these guys in Minnesota, they're just really well-rounded. There's no real superstars. There's just a bunch of really good players. They can roll 4 lines. Guys like Niederreiter and Charlie Coyle had down years without a doubt, but guys like Mikael Granlund have just been extremely consistent, at least. He definitely had a breakout year last year, but it seems like that is the kind of guy we can learn to expect with Mikael Granlund and the dual eligibility. And that dual eligibility doesn't hurt one bit. So you do like to have that versatility in your lineup.
I'm also pretty sure that we've talked about the Wild on that specific subject of how they're not exactly made to have there's nobody on that team that's going to have 100 points.
Yeah.
Because
it seems like 80 points is kind of like the ceiling for anybody on that team.
Yeah, they're just a very well-rounded, but you're going to have quite a few different guys that are going to have 65 to 75 points.
Yeah, more than the average team, I would say.
If Zach Parise is healthy, you throw him in there, he's going to be 60 plus. Niederreiter is more than capable of getting 60 plus. So they have multiple players that can do that kind of stuff. Okay, so.
All right, before we start on year number 20, I think you have Joe.
Which I'm going to change to Barkov.
Okay, yeah, because he's going to be a winger this year as Thornton's coming back.
Oh, who, Getzlaf?
No, the list you had sent me has Joe Pavelski at number 20.
Oh. Well, then I changed it.
Okay. Yeah, Pavelski's a winger, so I just wanted to make sure we didn't talk about him. All right, Barkov, okay. I have him all the way at number 12. It's open.
Okay, we can hold off for a minute here. So I'm pretty sure my top 10 stayed the same. I have Kuznetsov at 11, Couturier at 12, Braden Shen at 13,
yep.
Backstrom at 14, Bergeron at 15,
okay.
Raquel at 16.
Okay, so you moved him up.
Stahl at 17, Ryan Johansson at 18.
Okay, so he cracked into the list. Oh no, he was number 19 before.
Yeah, and I'll put Barkov at 19 and then Getzlaf at number 20. I mean, I don't even really want Getzlaf on this fucking list, but I don't know.
Well, don't talk about him. Put Ryjo at 20 and then who do you call it? Getzlaf, or not Getzlaf, Barkov at 19.
Okay, and then who's at 20 then? Or who's at 18?
Didn't you have Raquel, or are you taking him off? You could put. And then
I have Raquel at 16. Stahl 17, Johansson 18. I had Pavelski at 19, and Getzlaf at 20.
Oh. Raquel is somebody I talked about as a winger too.
Raquel is definitely a centerman though, like 100%.
Yeah, I know he has. Yeah, I think he's tri-eligible. He's got like all of them.
And I didn't talk about him with my left or right wingers, so I definitely have him on my list. I don't know if you have him on your list, and I'm not moving him either.
No, Raquel. I had Raquel on my wing ranking. He was number 9 for my left wings.
Okay.
But I have that. I'll have that one open, and I'll be able to talk to him. Yeah, try eligible center left wing in ESPN and in Yahoo's got all 3. He was almost a 70-point player, getting a real nice 69 points. I got all that stuff. Yeah. All right.
Okay. So, well, I'll leave Getzlaf at number 20, and I'll just go Barkov at 19 then. Gotcha. I'm not going to talk a whole bunch about Getzlaf because I'm not super sold on him. I don't exactly want him on my team.
Well, you can lead off with that. Hold on, let me get his stats. All right, cue it in.
All right, so number 20, I have Ryan Getzlaf. He didn't exactly have one of those seasons where he's really blowing the doors off. He only had 11 goals, 50 assists, but he did have 61 points, and it's all because of that huge assist number that he had. Now, he is going to help you out with a little bit of the peripherals. He had 42 PIMs, 96 hits, which is pretty decent.
Especially in a 56-game season. He only played 56 games. He missed a lot of time he fucked up his face.
Mm-hmm.
It looks like it never healed.
If you've ever seen Ryan Getzlaf, you really can't tell.
Yeah. Runs right in.
57 blocks. Hardly shot at all, unfortunately.
Just around 2 shots a game.
Yeah, he's much more of a passer. So, he took 117 shots and a 9.4 percentage clip. That's a solid 2 points underneath his career average. So, if he gets out there more, if he plays more than the 56 games that he did, I'm sure a lot of those numbers will be up, especially the hits will be well over 100. The blocks will be up closer to around 70 to 75. He only took 849 faceoffs, and unfortunately was below 50%. I have him on here because he is pretty much kind of like what I would consider the heart and soul of that team. He's much more of kind of like the hey Vic, much more of the
Sheer.
No, she was back in the doorway.
Oh.
He's kind of like the old guard of that team. Yeah. So kind of like they're getting a lot younger with players like Raquel, who we're going to be talking about and coming up here in the near future. But he's one of those players that I saw it even in the playoffs. Like if he wants to, I've seen Ryan Getzlaf take over a game. A lot of times he kind of waits for the playoffs to do that, so it doesn't really help you in fantasy leagues like for us, but I still have him on my list for number 20.
Yeah, even at almost age 34, he almost put up an assist a game, 50 assists in 56 games played this year. He's still rocking over 21 minutes a night. Like you were saying, he's taking a hell of a lot of face-offs. He's not elite in the face-off circle, but he's still taking a lot of them. The hits are really good. The blocks, they're always there. So he is just kind of like an all-around. I could see him being number 20. He isn't somebody you're aiming for in the first 10 rounds, but you can get him there. And if you're in a category league,
I totally agree.
Yeah, if you're in a category league, I could see taking him in round 10. But I'm not too high on him. If you guys disagree with me, feel free to let me know and why. I just don't want you to hit me up on Twitter and be like, "Fuck you, Getzlaf is awesome."
We all know that TJ's an asshole, and sometimes you need to hear about it. But it is nice to have a little feedback as to why you think TJ's an asshole.
Yeah, if you think I'm wrong, please tell me why. I'm tired of being told I'm wrong, and then that's it. Yeah, I see him at a nice number 20. That's not too bad.
Okay, let's move on down. We're gonna bust through these first 10. Yeah, and then we'll get into a little more depth after the going in through 10 to 1. So who do you got at 19?
All right, I got Nicholas Backstrom at number 19. He moved from that top line, at least for a lot of the year. He moved from the top line with Ovechkin. He started playing on the second line. He's still pretty good, at least in the face-off circle. And I had Getzlaf's up there. How are there 2 Nicholas Backstroms? All right.
Yeah, so there's one with a K and one with a CK. He is the CK.
I got him. So he's above 50% in the face-off circle. Not much for hits and blocks. He did put up 50 blocks, though. And this is another guy who only shoots about once or twice a game, but he did this in the same way. In the same way that Ryan Getzlaf is, he's more of an assist guy. He's a playmaker. He put up 71 points in 81 games, 50 assists with 21 goals on top of that. Added in like 46 PIMs. That's no big deal. Had 7 goals on the power play, which is 1/3 of his totals, and had 19 power play assists. So, I mean, you're looking at that all power for that really intimidating Washington power play, and he's on it. Ovechkin's on it. He's going to get a lot of points on the power play. He had 26 points this year, shot at 12%. So that's like right about career average for him. Still playing almost 20 minutes a night. Nicholas Backstrom, he's always worth a look, especially in like points leagues and stuff like that. He does see some exposure with Alex Ovechkin, and I like to see that. I mean, a guy of Ovechkin's caliber can put the puck in the net at any given moment, and every once in a while, Backstrom's the guy to give it to him. So I do like that. He's not putting up like a point per game like he did last year, but again, that's because he isn't playing with Ovechkin every single night. Hold on, I'm gonna look up line combos. So lately, he's been playing with like Jacob Vrana and TJ Oshie, and they're no slouches either. So you got Oshie on the other side, and Vrana, who's an up and coming guy. But Evgeny Kuznetsov. Go ahead.
So you're telling me best case scenario he's playing with Ovechkin, worst case scenario he's playing with Oshie?
Yeah.
That's not too bad.
So I got him at number 19 for that reason.
You have him at number 19. I definitely have him a little higher. I have him at number 14. And that's because I do like his deployment on the power play in a big way. Their offense in general. And there's also nothing saying 100% that Kuznetsov is going to stay on that first line. He very well could get moved back to that first line or get a little bit more time throughout the game. You know how much Washington changes up their lines, but also that was more or less when Barry Trotz was there. So maybe what I just said is just going to be totally untrue because you don't know what the new coach is kind of going to do. But they have been known just because they have so much firepower and so much talent, they change their lines around a lot.
Yeah, so Todd Reardon, we'll see what he does with the lines.
Yeah, so I mean, I like Backstrom a little bit higher than you do. Like I said, I have him at 14. So I mean, we won't have to go over him there. But the fact that he had 71 points and his shooting percentage this past year is pretty much right on par with his career is a really good sign to me. If you have a 70-point floor, then that's fantastic. And those are the players that I want because I feel like his ceiling is obviously up over 80 points, which I feel is super attainable, and maybe even more if he bumps that shooting percentage up to over 15, 16, which I think is obviously feasible on top of the fact that he took almost 1,400 faceoffs this past year. So, like I said, I like him a little more than you do, but I can see 19. I just think that's a little low.
He just dropped in stock just because he isn't playing with Ovechkin anymore. So,
but he's still playing. He's still playing with Oshie. Yeah. I can't just totally.
So last year,
that to the wayside.
He cracked both of our top 10s, and this year he's still within the top 20. So it's really not a bad look. Did we go over your 19 already? Who do you have at 19?
I got Alexander Barkov at 19.
Beautiful.
We're getting warm and wet down here, down in South Florida with Alexander Barkov. So everybody that listens to us knows that I like the Panthers. I'm not. It's not like I have like.
You like everybody on the Panthers except Roberto Luongo.
Yeah, I can't stand Roberto Luongo. But yeah, I mean, I just think that Barkov is a super great young talent. I mean, he's getting up there a little bit, but he's only 22. They have such a good young core. They could really be good for years. All they need is to not have fucking Roberto Luongo in net. So he played 79 games this year, which is actually more than he has played recently. It's the most games he's played in a season his entire career. He also obviously had, because of that, had his highest points total this past year. 27 goals, 51 assists. 27 goals, super solid. 51 assists, 20 more than his prior high total. So I'm just high on them in general.
Yeah,
it kind of hurt me to even have him at 19. I would almost want to put him higher for the sole fact that, so this past year he took 256 shots. His career average for shooting percentage is 12.8, and this year he was at a 10.5.
Mm-hmm.
I'd love to see something like that, because that tells me that if he boosts that up another 2%, he's going to have an even better year than he had last year if he takes the same
5 more goals.
Exactly. I love that kind of thing. How could you not? So I mean, he has 32 goals instead of 27. That's a fucking hell of a season.
He's over top of the game at that rate.
On top of the fact that if he's going to be playing with the line mates that he's projected to be playing with, he usually plays with Dadonov, who last year had a great year coming out with his first season, and they kind of really seem to mesh well. After Jágr kind of got moved out of Florida, it was even said by Jágr himself that the rest of that team was just playing a different game than he's used to.
So much faster.
Yeah, they're just a young, fast team, and that's the kind of thing that Barkov really thrives on, because he likes to be that guy in the middle, pushing people around down low and getting those dirty goals while other people are taking those shots. So I mean, I'm big on Barkov. I think he's going to have a great year, and like we said last time, if you want to make another bet about Florida, let's fucking do it, dude.
I mean, I can get into that. I'm equally as high on Barkov, if not more. I have him all the way at number 12. He's playing with Evgeny Dadonov, who got 65 points this year, who's, looking really good to kind of make a staple for himself in the NHL. But I feel that Alexander Barkov is one of the league's most underrated centers. Every year it seems like Barkov is kind of like an afterthought, that when he gets drafted at an average of 78 for his draft position. Last year in ESPN, that's an 8-round draft pick on average. 78 points in 79 games, over 250 shots, 17 power play points last year on a power play that's now going to have Mike Hoffman on it. He's over 54%, or he's right around 54% in the face-off circle. He's a +9, almost 30 goals. So like you were saying, if he shot his career average, he would have broken 30 goals and would have broken a point per game. Barkov is perennially like a really offensive force. He's one of the most gifted two-way forwards. I'm surprised he didn't get a Selke vote this year. One of the most gifted two-way forwards in the NHL. He almost hit 1 block shot a game this year too. So the chemistry on that top line, like you were saying, is Huberdeau, Dadonov, and Barkov. That they just had really good chemistry, and it seems like they're going to stick along. They're going to stick together. They're going to have another year to build on that chemistry. So that's going to continue to build, and I think we're going to see 3 really effective forwards next year.
Yeah, so I don't know why you wouldn't want to keep them together. Huberdeau and Barkov have played together for a couple of years now.
Yeah,
and they bid on that same line. As long as both of them are healthy, it seems like they always do well, and they're always on each other's points. And then you throw Dadonov into that mix. That's one of those 1-2 punches that I'm even okay with doing.
Yeah, the point share is crazy. The chemistry is awesome. They're all super effective. So I have him all the way at number 12. So, I mean, I can't wait to see what the rest of your list looks like. At number 18, I have William Karlsson. I know you have him a lot higher than I do.
See, and that's the thing. I mean, we kind of really flip-flop on a bunch of these. I have him all the way at number 10.
So with William Karlsson, he had 3 times as many points as his last career high. But that's to be said because he was playing 13 minutes in Columbus, and then he gets traded to Vegas, is on the top line. You guys know the story, right? So he's shooting at almost 24%, took 184 shots, and 43 of them went in. He's playing almost 19 minutes a game. He's under 50% on the faceoff circle. He's none for like hits and blocks, but this is a guy that scored 43 goals last year. So he has to make the list. It's just
and 35 assists.
And 35 assists for almost a point per game. He was 4 points shy of a point per game. Vegas wasn't much for a power play force, but he still put up 16 points on the power play. He even put up 4 shorthanded goals, one of which was that badass one where he went between the legs on Martin Jones. Do you remember that one? That was like the highlight reel one from the second it happened to the rest of the year. It probably will be for years to come. It was just a lot of fun to watch. So again, this guy plays in all situations, power play, first line, penalty kill. He's always out there. But the reason I have him all the way down at number 18 is just because I'm so scared of that 23.4% shooting percentage. We saw it with TJ Oshie last year. He had, I think it was 23 on the dot. And then he goes from 23 to something more reasonable, like 14.2, which is right around his career average. And he only scored 18 goals this year. So last year with a 23.1 shooting percentage, he scored 33 in 68 games last year. And now he played 74 games, had 18 goals. So we saw Oshie come back down to earth. I think the same thing is going to happen to William Karlsson. I'm not saying he's going to score less than 20 goals. I'm going to put him in the 20 to 30 range. I know that's a pretty wide spread, but I think 25 goals on the dot is probably where we are going to find him next year. So I think 10 is a little stretchy for me, but he has to make my top 20.
I mean, you were pretty spot on with that TJ Oshie comparison. I feel you. He was actually at 23.1. I don't know. It's just hard to look past those 43 goals. And I know what kind of happened we were just talking about Jeff Skinner earlier. So 2 years ago, he had a ton of goals. This past year, let's just say he didn't have a ton of goals.
Yeah, but that's Jeff Skinner for you, man. He's all over the map.
It was a little more deployment, a little more of a deployment issue with Jeff Skinner. But what I will say about William Karlsson is, apart from Marc-Andre Fleury, he is the face of that franchise. And we kind of went over this a little bit before the show here. He's not going to get less time on ice. He's not going to get less opportunities. If anything, I could see him shooting more, which will clearly bring down that 23% shooting percentage.
And if it doesn't, that's going to be scary. He's going to be a 50-goal scorer.
It's just that you don't really know what you're going to get from the guy. And I mean, I don't know. For some reason, I have faith in him, and I can't even really tell you why. He jumped up over 5 minutes worth of playing time this past year. Vegas is just giving him so much more than Columbus did, and Columbus is kicking themselves in the ass for it.
Yeah, he's got a lot to prove.
He's not going to be one of those guys that helps you out on PIMS because he only had 12 all year long.
Yeah, he got nominated for the Lady Byng too.
Yeah, on another note, that means that he's on the ice. Like, that guy is on the ice all the time. And I would not be surprised if his 18 minutes a game this past year, it's what, 18 and a half, give or take. Yeah, give or take. Got bumped up even more. Especially with not having a James Neal around because he's gone this year. I would expect them to maybe give a little more time to Alex Tuch, but they're not going to give William Karlsson less time on ice. I see him doing some big things again this year, on top of the fact that they have to continue to play with a chip on their shoulder, because even though they made it to the Stanley Cup Finals, which is incredibly hard to do.
Oh my God.
Everybody still says, "Oh, well, it was a fluke."
Yep.
Fuck you, dude. Like,
and let me
do not get to the Stanley Cup Finals on a friggin' fluke. So now they have to play with trying to shut people up for just saying, "Hey, last year wasn't just a one-time deal."
So he did just get signed to a 1-year contract. I think he's making like $5.5 million, but he got that money because of the 43 goals. I guarantee you his agent was like, now's the time to strike while the iron's hot. Because everybody sees that 23.4, including, the GM, including his agent. Everybody sees that shooting percentage, and it's like, all right, time to get paid, bud. But he's going to be playing for a contract again. even this year, he's got a 1-year contract. You know, he's going to be playing with that extra fire to prove to everybody, including, you know, the front office, that he can get 40 goals. So you might be right. He could be a number 10 by the end of the year, but I'm playing it a little safe here. I do want to add in that he had a league leading plus 49 in the plus minus. And I remember before the year even started, both you and I agreed, like, if you're playing in a plus minus league, stay away from Vegas. They're going to be so god awful. But you have the league leader in plus minus on Vegas, which nobody would have seen coming.
Well, I didn't know that was going to happen. Neither did you. Neither did anybody. Neither did Vegas. I mean, I don't think even Vegas knew that was going to happen. They thought that obviously they had faith in themselves, but I don't think they thought that they were going to make it to the Stanley Cup playoffs and be a viable contender to actually lift the cup on their first year, which I would have loved to have seen, but we didn't see it.
Straight story.
Okay. Man. Okay, so moving on. This is somebody I have on my list at number 18. I know you also have him on your list, Ryan Johansson.
You know what? I think he got pushed out because I forgot about Karlsson.
You bumped him off, huh?
I bumped him off, yep.
And you like Ryan Johansson a lot more than I do. How in the world did that happen?
No idea, man.
So this is a pretty healthy guy, apart from the whole blood clot issue that he had at the end of the playoffs 2 years ago. That was him, right?
I'm not sure it was a blood clot, but he did get, I think he broke his leg because I remember seeing him on crutches.
I could have sworn it was a blood clot in his leg. I could have sworn it was a blood clot in his leg.
Oh,
and
yeah.
That was the problem.
I think
they almost had to cut his fucking leg
off. And he like got.
You looking it up?
Yeah, I got a. So he did go under emergency surgery on his left thigh. Not much more was known about the injury. Apparently, it wasn't that big of a deal or that big of a hit or what have you. So, yeah, it's tough for him. He had a really good go here in the playoffs, especially when we're definitely going to miss him. Came out of Vanderbilt.
I'm pretty sure it had to do with a blood clot, dude.
When pressed for the nature of the injury, was it a blood clot or a muscle tear? Laviolette said, I'm probably going to stay away from that right now and focus on his game. So, I mean, this was this.
I feel confident. I feel confident saying it.
All right, maybe just say when he got taken out of the playoffs, just in case, because I don't know. I don't feel like fact checking that all the way through.
Dude, I'm like 99% positive that it was a blood clot issue.
All right,
but okay, I can go back and not say it. So I'm going to start back as he's a healthy guy, except for that. Okay, so Ryan Johansson is a pretty healthy guy. He played 79 games this past year, 82 last year. And I mean, other than that issue that he had at the end of the playoffs where he had to get taken out with kind of like an undisclosed injury that they didn't want to talk about, he's a really healthy dude. So like I said, he played 79 games this year. He only had 54 points, which I think can definitely go up. But also I feel like a big part of that is he only took 129 shots. He's much more of one of those guys who kind of likes to get down low. So I want to see more than 15 goals out of Ryan Johansson. 39 assists is pretty solid, but it's really the goals that I want to see. If he cracks 24, 25 goals, it changes the look of his season drastically. Where I do really like Ryan Johansson is in the faceoff circle. The guy took almost 1,500 faceoffs, took 1,461, and he's up over 55%. Those are pretty good numbers. And when you're looking for somebody who is a sole centerman and doesn't have multiple eligibility, you better have very good face-off credentials, which Ryan Johansson does, on top of the fact that he's on a really good Predators team. Mm-hmm. So there's nothing saying that him playing alongside somebody like Arvidsson, who's a really young, speedy guy, he can't get back up there on goals. What do you think?
Well, he's always been that pass first kind of guy. So 15 goals is something that we're going to see. But he had a career high of 33 goals in 13-14 with Columbus before he got traded. 78 PIMs is really awesome. So he's a guy that's chipping in for your penalty minutes too. He's not much on the power play. He only had 1 power play goal this year, and he did have 14 power play assists. So he had 15 power play points, no big deal. But he doesn't shoot. That's something I'm really worried about here. He had 129 shots this year at a pretty reasonable 11.6%.
But that's also right on par with his career average. So
yeah.
So that tells me you shoot more, you're gonna get more points.
So, but I think this is the kind of player that we're looking at. He is playing with 2 high caliber players in Philip Forsberg and Victor Arvidsson. So players of that stature are the guys that are going to be getting those goals. So maybe Ryan Johansson just thinks that, oh, I'm the pass guy, I'm the playmaker, and we see it just going back like 1, 2, 3, 4, so many years. He has mostly assists and isn't much for goal scoring. Career high 71 points in 14-15, and I mean, I think that's pretty much his ceiling as far as points totals go. But even in that year, he had 26 goals. So he can be a 20 goal scorer. He can be a 25 goal scorer. And yeah, I'll agree with you. It would be awesome to see that. But I think we're going to see more of this, 15 to 20 and right around 40 to 50 assists.
Okay. So moving on, you said you don't have Johansson on there on yours.
So
who do
my
you got
number
a number? Yeah, who do you got at 17?
I got Ryan Getzlaf. We already talked about him, man. So who's your 17?
I'm going Eric Staal.
Eric Staal, very good.
Eric Staal was, for myself, a big pickup last year. I know you weren't thrilled about it, but he really helped kind of boost my team at the end of the year because I kind of made a big trade push towards the end of the season. He had 76 points last year. He led the Wild in points, 42 motherfucking goals. It seemed like, especially at the end of the year, like he put a bunch of those goals on. There was multiple times where he had multi-goal games. So he had 42 goals, 34 assists. Isn't really going to be too crazy on a bunch of the peripherals. He 42 PIMs, not too shabby, but he only had 42 hits and 49 blocks. I mean, it's helping out a little bit. Don't get me wrong. He's getting pretty much like half a block a game. Same for hits, give or take.
What are you banging?
What?
There's something that's like hitting.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I don't know what that is.
Okay, so moving on. He had 241 shots, though, which is a really solid shot amount. I like, especially with my centers, I like to see at least 200. I mean, 200 is a low amount. So I mean, I'm looking for more than 200, especially for my top centers. So he had 241, shooting percentage at 17.4, a little high,
career high,
especially for him. Career high. He's usually around a 10.6, but he's also taken faceoffs. He's not killing it on the faceoff circle. He's at 51.2%. But I mean, that he took over 1,100 faceoffs. So he's just kind of like an all-around player. He's on that top line with Zach Parise. He's going to get you points. And he's going to get you a couple extra things. So, I mean, he's one of those players that don't sell the boat for him. You know what I mean? Don't give it all away. But if you get him in at like a decent round, I mean, I would even say possibly like 7th or 8th round. I think it's a pretty solid place to pick up an Eric Staal. I wouldn't push for him too much higher. If somebody else is going to take him higher, let them. But especially if he's lower than that, then fucking snag him.
Yeah, that shooting percentage is a little bit worrisome. He's probably going to be closer to what he was last year. I keep saying that. So he was probably going to be closer to what he was 2 years ago in 16-17, a 65-point player, than the player he was last year in 17-18 of a 76-point player. So it's going to be somewhere in the middle. That's where I'm probably putting him next year. I would say 70-point guy, give or take 5 points. 5 points, 75 points would be a really good year. 65 points would be a good year still. So I do like where he's at. The shot total, like you were saying, is really nice, 241. That's right about 3 shots a game, which is where I start to get really into those centers and forwards. I like to see 3 shots a game. Those are the guys I'm really gunning for. I'm streaming guys that are doing 2 shots a game. So 17 power play points, 6 assists, and 11 goals, 4 game winners, 2 shorthanded goals, actually. And yeah, so again, we're looking at a guy that plays in all situations. But with a career high shooting percentage, 6 points above his career average, you could probably see a little bit of regression coming from Eric Staal.
I'm not against saying that you might see a little bit of regression, but also you got to think this guy has been in the league a while. So, I mean, he knows how to keep his body in tune, obviously. And it's not like he's really slowing down. I mean, he just had the best year of his career as far as I'm concerned. Now, how many years is that going to be happening for more moving forward? Now that I can't tell you. But next year, the Wild know that this is their window. Okay, they have Dubnyk right now. They still have Parise. They have the young people like the younger core that we were speaking about earlier. This is their time to strike, and I'm actually almost surprised that they haven't made any sort of big move in the offseason to try to bulk up that pretty much what I would consider their bottom 6.
Yeah, but they do have a nice, like, well-rounded 4 lines. But you're right. They make the playoffs, but they always get kicked out in the first round. So these are guys that need to get over the hump. And like you were saying, they're going into the year with pretty much exactly. I think they lost Matt Cullen, and that's all they did. They didn't really add any pieces. They didn't lose any pieces. So we'll see how it works out for Eric Staal in his age 34 year, and see if he can continue that 60-plus point pace that he's been on for 2 years in Minnesota.
Okay, so we're going to move on to the next one. Let's go with number 16. And who do you have, TJ?
Number 16, I have Vincent Trocheck, who
is not on my list at all.
And he made my list for 75 points. So 75 reasons I have on him making my list. 31 goals, career high. 44 assists, career high. 75 points, career high. -9, 54 PIMs, career high. And this is a guy that it actually took me by surprise. He put up 145 shots. He's been over 100 hits for the last 3 years, over 125 hits for the last 3 years. Did make some improvements in the face-off circle. He is over 50%. He's got a 54.1 right now, which is a career high. So he's getting really good at that. He played 21 minutes on average this year from the second line. So another guy in Florida that is worth looking at. He had a 10.8 shooting percentage. I have no worries there. Shot at a really decent 3 shots a game, 287 over the course of 82 games. On the power play, he had 14 assists and 13 goals for 27 power play points. So this is a guy that really, really took a step forward from his previous career high last year of 54 points and turned himself into a 75-point guy. It wouldn't surprise me if he pretty much stayed on par with that this year, turned into a 75-point guy, could even push for point per game. You're likely going to see him playing with Mike Hoffman this year, who's another really high shooting, who's a really shoot first kind of guy too. So they're going to have a really good top 6. And I understand why you're so high on Florida. On paper, they look really good, and we'll see how it works out for them. I'm just really excited about Vincent Trocheck going forward. He's an all-around fantasy guy. Does the hits. He puts up some blocks, but nothing like out of the ordinary. Playing a hell of a lot of minutes and deserves them.
So the power play is definitely where I like Vincent Trocheck the most. You can't argue with those 27 power play points. You just can't. And it's not like they were 20 power play assists and a couple of goals kind of thing. It was split straight down the middle. So with the addition of Mike Hoffman, it's definitely not going to hurt anything. The only thing is, if I do recall, I don't believe that Trocheck is on that first power play unit.
No, it does have him there. So it's Huberdeau, Barkov, Trocheck, Hoffman, and Yandel.
Okay, well, that is just a fucking power play to be scared of.
Yeah, dude. That's
wow. Okay, so I'm not saying I don't like Vincent Trocheck. I'm not saying I wouldn't be interested in drafting him. I just think you're a little higher on them than I am. And I like the Panthers. So I mean, I almost think that, in all honesty, every single person in their top 6 is draftable in the first 13 rounds, I would say, at the very least.
Yeah, their fantasy
even
guys are like good.
Yeah, even Dadonov is in that conversation too. I mean, we haven't talked about him in these past couple of episodes, but everybody on that top 6 is worth drafting.
Mm-hmm. And I think their defense pairings are pretty good too. I mean, Keith Yandel is one of the top defensemen. We'll talk about him later. Aaron Ekblad, we're still waiting for him to break out. He shoots like crazy, but he's shooting at like 4 or 5%. Actually, you know what? Now that I look at it, Michael Matheson and Mark Pysyk on their second pairing isn't too awesome. So they do have the top pairing, but that's about it. So
it's got to drop off at some point in time.
Yeah, yeah, you can't have like every good player.
But in all honesty, Matheson was not that bad of a daily streamer last year. I picked him up quite a few times and got some points out of it, just because streaming the Panthers on a day-to-day basis is not the worst idea in the world.
Yeah, Matheson, he blocks tons of shots. And he shoots pretty good. 27 points though. Yeah, I mean, if you picked him up on the right day, that would be good. Shit, I was just gonna say something. Oh, so I mean, as far as second line centers go, Vincent Trocheck is probably in my top 5. Obviously, guys like Evgeny Malkin, Leon Draisaitl, those guys are, you know, at the forefront of your mind when you think about second line centers. But I think Trocheck has really thrown his hat in the ring for being one of the best second line centers in the league for fantasy.
So we're gonna move on to my number 16. Okay. The good old double R, Rickard Rakell. You know me, I love me some Rickard Rakell. Rickard Rakell is one of my favorite players in the league. He's probably one of my top 10 favorite players altogether in the whole league. Had a very decent season. It's not like it was flashy and totally over the top, but I mean, he had 69 points, 34 goals, 35 assists, cut straight down the middle. He's another one of those players that really isn't going to get you a lot of PIMs, only at 14 PIMs. But one thing I was actually surprised about was when I actually looked at his hits. You know, he had 115 hits. Yeah,
he has over 100 hits 2 out of the last 3 years.
It's surprising. Just looking at him, it doesn't seem like his sort of game. But he did. He had 115 hits, 230 shots. And it's not like his shooting percentage, while it was at a 14.8, is really too far off his career average at a 13.6. So that doesn't really scare me right there either. So I think he is a solid 25 goal scorer on the low end.
Yeah, absolutely.
He led the Ducks in points last year, and I don't see why he couldn't do it again. He didn't really take too many faceoffs last year because he was on the line with Ryan Getzlaf. But in the future, I'd like to see him take some more faceoffs. I mean, he only has a 45% average on faceoffs for his career, so it's not like he's really killing it out there. But I mean, I'm not gonna lie, I'm not really drafting him for his faceoff percentage. I can get that from other guys, especially the fact that he is one of these guys that has not just dual eligibility, but triple eligibility.
Yeah, okay. I think the reason he didn't have too many faceoffs last year, he spent last year as a right wing, but he does have that eligibility, so that brings him into the conversation for centers. But you're right, man. Like, I think, what, 2 out of the last 3 years no, it was this year that he led the Ducks, or was it last year?
I'm pretty sure it was this year that he led the Ducks.
Yeah, I think you're right.
On top of the fact that, he got bumped up from 2 years ago to this year. He has a full 2 minutes more on ice, which is only going to mean good things.
Yeah, and every single year, we talked about him last week when we were talking about wingers, that every single year he's been progressing. So 4 years ago, he had 31 points. The year after that, 43. Then he went to 51 and now 69. So he's really coming into his own. And I am excited to see what he has to prove next year.
And also remember that, he had 8 power play goals and 10 power play assists. So, he's out there on the power play. He's putting in work. And one of his big jobs is when they dump and run, he's that guy that gets down there and does the forechecking. Like, he is on those boards. He is on that puck. You can watch his number, and he's just flying all over the place out there.
You see it in the hits.
Yeah. Okay, so moving on. Let's move right into number 15. I have Patrice Bergeron.
Okay. Yeah, take it away. I got Bergeron up at, I think, 11. Yeah, I got Bergeron at 11.
Which definitely isn't a bad place to have him by any means. So I was saying to TJ, 11 through 20 was the hardest rankings I had to do for all of the rankings that we've done, whether it was left wingers, centers, or as the centers, the defense, the right wingers, everything. 1 through 10 was honestly pretty easy, but 11 through 20, it almost felt like you could kind of just pick and choose which one to have anywhere, because they all have good points for everything.
Yeah, just pick a name out of a hat.
So Bergeron, he didn't have a million points. You know what I mean? It's not like he had like 75 plus points, but he had a very solid season. He had 63 points with 30 goals, 33 assists.
And that's all in 64 games.
Yeah, and that's not even a ton of games. So you throw another 15 games on top of that, he's going to get you more points, on top of the fact that he's on one of the best lines in hockey. So, that being said, his hits and blocks leave a little something to be desired, but I can deal with that. That's by far his lowest spot. Hits, blocks, PIMS. PIMS, he only had 18. But that's because he's fucking Patrice Bergeron, and he wins the friggin' Selke every year. So, he's just not out there to get to do penalties.
Yeah, especially playing on a line with Brad Marchand. There's a guy for that.
Yeah, that's his job. 224 shots, not too shabby. 13.4 shooting percentage, not too crazy far off his career average. But also you kind of got to take that with a grain of salt, because he's been in the league for like 35 years. So, however, takes a ton of faceoffs. 1368. He took 1,368 faceoffs with over 57%. There are not too many people in the league that have a better than 57% average for the whole year when they're taking more than 1,200 faceoffs.
He was ranked 12th amongst all forwards for the most faceoff wins, and as far as faceoff percentage, he was 6th amongst all forwards taking more than 1,000 faceoffs. So you got guys like on the list that won 1 out of 1 faceoff, and they all of a sudden have 100% win percentage. But amongst forwards that took more than 1,000 faceoffs, he was ranked 6th. So this is definitely a guy who's going to win you that category.
Yeah, I'm big on Patrice Bergeron, and I've never had him on my team, but I sure do want him.
Yeah. So
where did you say you have Bergeron again?
I got Bergeron all the way up at number 11.
Okay, I can see that. I can definitely see that. It's not like we're too far off between 15 and 11, but fair enough.
So where are you aiming for him? I'm thinking like round 5 or 6 is pretty good value.
I was going to actually say 6. So, yeah. I think Patrice Bergeron, if you get him in the 6th round, that's pretty solid. If you reach, you're reaching at if you take him in the 4th round, I mean, I think that might be a little bit of a reach because you're really looking for points in the 4th round, but it also depends on what type of league you're in. If you're in a category league, yeah, I could see him being higher than a 6, but I mean, anything 7, 8, if he's still there, oh my God.
Yeah, you're winning.
Please give me a call so that I can come be in your league.
All right. At number 15, I have the former Philadelphia Flyer and power play specialist, Brayden Schenn, who actually didn't do as crazily awesome as he did on the power play in recent years, but he did set a bunch of career highs last year. He set a career high in goals, assists, points, plus minus, penalty minutes, shots, face-off win percentage, and still managed to lay down over 150 hits and 19 power play points. He scored 70 points in 82 games with 28 goals, 42 assists. He was playing with Tarasenko for like most of the year. I think there were a few games where he might not have. He scored at even strength more than ever before and did it all with a reasonable shooting percentage in relative to his career average. It does seem to be repeatable, especially when you're playing with Tarasenko and Jaden Schwartz, given that the top line ice time. And given that top line ice time, Schenn should not be forgotten going into drafts next year. He put up really good penalty minutes with 56. Wait, is this Schenn or is this still? Yeah, this is Schenn.
You talk about Luke Schenn?
No shot. He put up 56 penalty minutes, and the hits are really, really good to go along with that. He put up 154 hits this year. It's just really good hit stats to go along with his offensive production. He can be a real asset to your team later on in the draft, not too late, but you might be able to snag him close to like round 8 or 10, or if everybody forgets about him, then you might even get him later than that, and then he's going to be a steal.
Yeah, I mean, I think anybody playing with the Blood Brothers that are Vladimir Tarasenko and Jaden Schwartz, because they're just so – they're always going to be on a line together. If they're healthy, they're going to be playing together. So whoever is in the middle of that line, who's ever the meat in that sandwich, is going to do just fine. And right now that's Brayden Schenn. I actually have him at 13. And, well, there's so many reasons to say so. So, yeah, I mean, I love his ability to get points.
Jeez, I hope that doesn't become a thing.
I love his hits. He's not hurting on PIMS by any means. He's getting a decent amount. He's over 200 shots. And his shooting percentages is not too far off of his career average. It's not even a full point higher. So, I mean, there's a lot of reasons to like Brayden Schenn, and he's not going anywhere. He's solidified on that top line center position in St. Louis, who is also making moves to kind of stay relative.
Oh yeah, who needs cap space? You only need cap space when you need players, and they bought all the players this year. Yeah,
well, you got to do what you got to do, and I mean, I think there's a lot of reasons to like Brayden Schenn. There's a lot of reasons to like the St. Louis Blues. So
no, I agree. Everything that's on paper right now looks like Brayden Schenn can do this again. Given, of course, that it's only the first year we've seen him in St. Louis, but like you were saying, his shooting percentage is straight on career average. The point totals probably just goes along with, number one, his line mates. 2, the extra deployment. He saw over 2 minutes more than he usually did in Philadelphia. He's getting he's still not your face-off guy, so you're going to get that somewhere else. You are going to get wins, but you're not going to get most of them.
But he was only at 48% on face-offs this year, so I mean, what are you going to do?
So Brayden
you're going to live with it.
He really surprised everybody with the year he put it together this year. So his name's not going to be as quiet going into drafts this year, but is still somebody you should keep an eye out for.
Can we go smoke a cigarette quick?
Sure.
By the way, my next 2, my 13 and 14, we already talked about. I have Brayden Schenn at 13 and Backstrom at 14. So,
okay, I got Draisaitl and Eichel coming up, but yeah, let's do smoke.
And I got Draisaitl at.
You don't have Draisaitl.
I kicked Draisaitl off my list.
Fine by me.
Okay.
All right. See you soon.
Yep. You all right? Boys. Say hi to TJ. Hey, if you go downstairs or anything, like if you go check the if you go downstairs. We're like halfway.
Howdy.
Okay.
Dude, you got to see this. So Desi's at my mom's house right now. Hold on, I don't know if it'll show. But my man fell asleep right by the door.
What, like waiting for you to come back?
I don't think so. They said he fed him. Hold on. My mom, I texted her. I was like, did he really fucking fall asleep like that? Yeah, said he really fell asleep by the door. She said he's still there. He's snoring.
He's still there.
Yeah, they fed him. He did a lap around the house real quick and then just boom, fell. Just went to sleep.
Well, good for him.
Good for him.
I wish I could do that.
At number 14, I have my favorite guy, Leon Draisaitl. His stock fell considerably as it seems to be a fixture on his own line at even strength instead of playing with McDavid. But he still managed to put up 70 points in 78 games this year. He took a good amount of shots, coming real close to 200. He had a pretty stellar 56% face-off win percentage. And it looks like Ryan Nugent-Hopkins is going to be the guy on McDavid's line this year, with Draisaitl left to anchor his own line with Lucic and Puljujarvi. Or maybe like somebody like Kyler Yamamoto can wiggle their way onto his line or McDavid's line. We're going to have to wait and see on that front.
I also really, just to interject for a second, I also really like the addition of Pontus Aberg. I think he's going to be a good player on that team. I know they have him down there all the way on the fourth line right now, but I think he has a chance with his skill set and his speed that he would actually probably be somebody that would be really good to play with McDavid.
As far as left wings go, I think Nugent Hopkins has a lot.
Yeah, but also Nugent Hopkins has a history of being hurt often.
Yeah,
so
okay.
I'm just saying with his skill set and how he plays, he's going to be better on that first line, which is their speed line, as opposed to that second line, which is a bunch of big fucking dudes.
Yeah, the BFG line, man.
Yeah, so they really are.
Going back to that, the second line center thing, Draisaitl's definitely up there in that conversation. He is one of the better second line centers out there. He still gets to play with McDavid on the power play, where Draisaitl only had 11 points this year compared to last year's 27 points. So keep him in mind. He put up 59 even strength points for a majority of the time. He was on his own line. So 59 points without McDavid, that's not bad. So if he can come back to that, if Edmonton can come back to that power play stature that they were a couple years ago, instead of being like bottom of the league, then you're going to see Draisaitl pushing a point per game, even on his own line. I don't care if he's playing with McDavid or not, but I still think he has a chance to be one of the best players in the game. Not like, top 20, but he's definitely a fantasy asset. So keep him in mind when other people draft him like he is playing with McDavid, then don't feel bad if you miss out on him in your drafts, but he could be somebody that gets overdrafted this year. So don't take him too early. This is a guy you're probably looking at probably 6th round, something like that. Probably even a little later.
You are listening to 5 Hole Fantasy Podcast. I'm Zach Vogel, and this is TJ Branson. We just went over your number 14 center, and we already did my number 14 center, which was Nicholas Backstrom. Let's move on to 13, which we already went over my number 13 because you already talked about Brayden Schenn. Who you got, T?
I got Jack Eichel at number 3, and I actually wrote this list before the addition of Jeff Skinner, but I still like him at number 13. The top 12 that I have is pretty set in stone. But Jack Eichel, we're waiting for that first 82 game season. He played 81 in his first year, and then 61 and 67 games in the years that followed. He posted his career high in shots in the year he played the fewest amount of games. So he has over 209 NHL games played and has 733 shots to show for it. That's a 3.5 shots per game across his career. 64 points in 67 games and 57 points in 61 games the year before that. So he's so close to a point per game status. Many of us want to see him and what he can do in a full season. He can easily surpass the 80-point mark, especially now playing with Jeff Skinner. He's really bad at faceoffs, but he makes up for it in shots and power play points. And the plus minus is a bit, daunting. But hey, Buffalo is on the rise right now, aren't they? So he's definitely cemented into that first line center role. Possible line mates in Jeff Skinner and Sam Reinhart. That seems to be pretty set in stone. And Sam Reinhart really lit up the second half of last year. So I think that line's going to be pretty productive. I'm not saying Buffalo's going to make the playoffs or anything close to that, but the plus minus is going to go up, maybe not by much. But I think Jack Eichel, if given the opportunity to stay healthy, don't fuck your ankle up this year for the first time, please. And I think we're looking at a 75 to 85 point guy.
I can feel you on the points, TJ. I don't know if he's an 85-point player. Time will tell. Number one, I need to see that he will stay healthy. Number two, as far as draft position goes, if you were strictly in a points league, I could see him being on this list, but for the sole fact that he literally does nothing but get points like that, that's all he does out there. Okay. He's not going to hit. He's not getting you PIMs. He's not getting you blocks. They don't want him blocking, number one. But he's atrocious on faceoffs. He's down at around, 41%?
41.5%, and that's a career high.
Yeah. So, I mean, that tells you everything you need to know about the whole faceoff situation. So I don't have him on my list. That doesn't mean that I don't like Jack Eichel and don't want him on my team, but it really depends on what kind of league you're in. If you're in a category league, then honestly, you're drafting him way late. You just are. He's not. Yeah, in an all points league, then yeah, I feel you could draft him in the 6th or 7th round, but I'm not going too high on Jack Eichel.
But we were also saying in the draft strategy episode that in the first 5 rounds you're drafting for offense only, and I could easily see Jack Eichel making that first 5-round window. So just going along with that, you get your offense covered early in drafts, and then you start worrying about the all-around players outside of Marchand and stuff like that, who are number one offensively elite, and then also have that peripheral stuff to go with it.
And I will agree that, I mean, anybody on that very top line is going to be worth having once you get down into the meat and potatoes of the team. It's just not so. We'll just say that.
All right. My number 12, you already took care of, and I spoke about, is Alexander Barkov. 11, Bergeron, we already spoke on. Are your number and 12? Are they 11 and 12?
So my number 12 is Philly's own Sean Couturier.
Yes.
Do you even have Couturier on your list?
No, and that's a complete oversight on my part.
I was going to say, wow, that hurts. That hurts Sean's feelings. I'm gonna have to let Couturier know how you feel about him.
I'm sorry, dude. My bad, bud.
I'm big on Couturier. I think it was an incredibly smart move to move him to that top center position. That's why I had Giroux on my left wing list, and I have Couturier as number 12. He had 76 points this year, which is just, I mean, to say career high is an understatement.
Yeah, far and away.
It's almost double his career high previously. So he was killing it. He did double his career high on goals. He had 31 goals and 45 assists. Literally, he almost doubled all of his offensive stats.
Yeah, he even came close in shots. So before we get too deep into Sean Couturier, I do want to say that because it is the first year in his first line position, that we don't exactly have, we can't trend. all of his stats. So looking from 16, 17 and prior, it's all him on the second line, the third line. Didn't get much first power play time, but yeah, it's just whether or not he was a flash in the pan or not is my worry. And I'm not going to say that's why I kept him off my list. To be honest with you, I think I just forgot about him. He probably would have fell. Let me think. Let me look back at my list. Probably between Trocheck and Getzlaf over at 17. So he should have been on my list. My fault.
I mean, I'm glad I have him on my list. He's somebody that I want in both points leagues, and especially in a category league. He's great in the faceoff circle. He took over 1,000 faceoffs. He was at 51 or 52.8%, pardon me. And his shooting percentage really isn't that far off his career average either. So, I mean, he took more shots than he ever has before at 227, and he was at a 13.7 shooting percentage. So not only are you taking more shots, but you upped your shooting percentage, which tells me you're taking smart shots. And that's one thing that I will say that Philadelphia does, almost to the point where it's maddening, actually, where they will keep on looking for that perfect shot. Sometimes it doesn't work out for them. But in this kind of case, it seems to have worked out really well for Sean Couturier. And remember, he got moved up to that front line, and he's going against the other team's best. Mm-hmm. But it also helps when you get an extra 3 minutes on ice.
And I think the shots and the shooting percentage has a lot to do with his deployment this year. It was the first time he'd ever been in a first-line role, and I think he pretty much grabbed that thing by the balls, man. He was not scared one bit and really embraced the role. Took more shots, like you said, career high in shooting percentage, and I think that's something we're going to see going forward just because being in that top-line role, he knows he needs to shoot. He's playing with two of the best players on Philadelphia, usually in Travis Konechny and always in Claude Giroux. So I think it's definitely repeatable, but I feel a little safer calling him a 65 to 70 point guy than a 76, but I'd be even happier if he keeps going with that.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think that I hope that that Konechny is going to take a step forward this year. Obviously, you can only imagine that Claude Giroux is going to take a step back. I mean, it's hard to repeat a 100+ point outing.
Yeah, at a 17+ point shooting percentage, but we'll see.
Yeah, but I mean, hey, if Couturier gets 70 points and Giroux gets, say, 85, we're still having a pretty decent season. And I think Travis Konechny is really going to play a big role in that too, just because him and Giroux play honestly kind of a different game than Couturier. So it's kind of weird how well they worked out together, just because they really do all play a very different kind of game. But maybe that's why Sean Couturier is so good on that line, because he's the one that can be trusted to really lock people down.
Yeah, he's a very good two-way player. Came in second for the Selke behind Anze Kopitar. So he did beat out Bergeron for his own trophy this year.
Okay, so moving on to number 11.
Number 11 for me was Patrice Bergeron, and I think...
Oh, that's right. You did say that earlier.
Your number 11 is my number 10 if we're talking about Evgeny Kuznetsov.
We are talking about Evgeny Kuznetsov. I mean, what else can you say about him? He's, at least to start off the year, he's going to be on a line with Alex Ovechkin.
Yeah, that's his job to lose. If he loses it, it's his own fault.
Yeah. So this past year, had a great season, 83 points, 27 goals, 56 assists. But, I mean, you're going to have a lot of assists when you're passing Alex Ovechkin. It's just going to happen. Was pretty helpful on PIMS. He had 48, not too crazy, but not horrible. Not really going to help you out too much on hits and blocks, but honestly, that's Ovechkin's job. Ovechkin is out there getting all the hits. All right, you just have to be behind him to pick up loose pucks.
And let's not forget about Tom Wilson, who's on the same line.
Yeah, so I mean, it's just not his job. One thing I would like to see out of Kuznetsov, though, is shots.
Yeah, 200 plus
shots.
at least.
Jeez, Jesus Christ. I mean, he was at 187 last year, which, come on, dude. I want to see more out of you. Now the shooting percentage, I'm not too worried about. He was at a 14.4 this past year, which is a solid 3 points above his career average. But another thing, if you're playing with Ovechkin, you're probably going to get better shots because there are people cheating to Ovechkin's side. They're always going to cheat towards him. So
definitely
you
opened up the ice.
Yeah, you should get better shots. It's just you play with a player like Ovechkin, you're going to get more opportunities. That's why I want to see him take more shots because he's going to have the ability to get more of an open look than Ovi will. And we've seen Kuznetsov's hands. The kid's got fantastic fucking hands. So I want him shooting more. As far as faceoffs go, he's kind of shitty in the faceoff circle, in all honesty.
Yeah.
I mean, he was at 44% this past year. Had a little over 1,000 faceoffs. But, I mean, it's not like that's too far off his career average either, because his career average over these past 5 seasons has been 45%. So it's not like he's really ever killed in the faceoff circle. So you take it or leave it. I want the player that's playing alongside Ovechkin, especially if you have Ovechkin.
Oh, yeah. If you guys can get that tandem, if you can stack that line, that would be, that's just, it seems unstoppable at least. It's really intimidating. All right. Kuzi had his first point per game season this year. And like we've been saying, he spent most of the season playing with Ovechkin, which is usually Backstrom's spot, which is why, if you notice, Backstrom is not in my top 10. He did have 30 power play points and 83 points in 79 games played, 187 shots at 14.4. This is another guy who's not great in the I'm just reading my stuff. Like a lot of this is redundant.
187?
Yeah. 187 shots at 14.4%. 187 shots at 14 point. God damn it. Now I'm just tripping over my tongue.
I already went over all this.
So we did talk about how he's like not great in the faceoff circle, but he makes up for it with the offense. Kuznetsov's really come into his own this year. He exploded offensively. Look for him, rounds 4 or 5, I'm going to guess. Where would you draft him?
I could see that. I know last year he got drafted much, much lower than 4 or 5. I would probably stick closer to the round 5. If he's out there at 4, I'd be a little hesitant to take him unless I already had a player like Ovechkin, because like we were saying, that 1-2 punch could be a really serious fucking threat. So that would be the reason I would possibly stretch to get him in around 4. If you took Ovi round 1 and Kuznetsov is out there round 4, that's a perfectly fine spot to take him.
Yeah, that's a smart move then.
I mean, you're pretty much giving yourself a guaranteed 160, 170 points just in general.
Yeah,
in those 2 players.
Half of that coming from your 4th round pick.
So I mean that's a big deal. So I mean, take that kind of thing into consideration. A lot of these players that we may say are in the 5th round, they might be a little more worthwhile to you, have a little more need just because of who your 1st round pick was.
Yeah, value. Definitely be more valuable.
Okay, so honestly,
your number 10, I think we talked about that was William Karlsson, right?
I'm pretty sure we're jumping right to number 9.
And I think we agree here. We're both gonna talk about Tyler Seguin.
What?
Here you go, man.
This is the first time it took 11 players. Well, not just 11 players, 11 spots with like 20 players worth of people, almost kind of, for us to finally agree on something. And that is Tyler Seguin.
So he hit the 40 goal mark for the first time in his career. 38 helpers on top of that. He took 335 shots, which was good for 2nd most in the league, only behind Ovechkin. And that was only 20 shots behind Ovechkin, mind you. That being said, 25 points on the power play, 55% in the faceoff circle, 74 hits, 44 blocks, 43 PIMs, and a +12. So those are the stats of somebody worth drafting really early. Well, maybe not like really early, but he's a steal in the third round, I'm going to think. And on top of all of that, he is a pending UFA this year. So my man is playing for money. And we love to see that. You know, they have that little extra fire in them. He's probably going to eclipse his totals from this year. And I think you can hold me to that, man. As he shot like straight on career average as far as his shooting percentage at 11.9. His career average is 11.3. So there's really nothing that jumps off the page.
That's honestly my favorite part about all of this. You take 335 shots, you would think automatically, okay, your shooting percentage is going to go down. No, that didn't happen here. I mean, it's not like it went way up or anything, but it was right on par. It was a little bit higher than his career average, but you're taking that many extra shots or that many more shots than you really have in the past. I mean, last year he took 300, but last year was the first time he ever took more than 300 shots. So, I mean, when you're doing that alongside having your shooting percentage be right on par with what you can do,
yeah,
I think that's super exciting. I mean, hey, what a top line in Dallas. You know what I mean? And unfortunately, all of their talent pool kind of gets a lot shallower after that first line. But Tyler Seguin has really proven that he is a steady talent in the league. And when you're playing with someone like Jamie Benn and then Alexander Radulov on your other side, I mean, honestly, I think he has a 75-point floor at the very least.
Yeah.
And that's just my thought, but I also think that he could very possibly get up to like 80, 85, no problem. I don't think it's out of the realm of possibility at all. So if the Stars are to make a run this year, Tyler Seguin is going to be a big part of it.
Yeah, he's playing on a really productive first line. So he's definitely worth somebody worth drafting. Pretty high. Don't feel bad if you get him in the second round. Don't feel bad if you get him in the third round. Start jumping up and down if you get him in the fourth. I don't think that's going to happen in any league, but if it does happen, you better be the one to pull the trigger. My number 8, you have, I believe, at number 4, if we're talking about Mark Scheifele.
I like Mark Scheifele, man. I don't know what there is, and I don't know what there is to not like about Mark Scheifele.
No, I can't agree with you more.
Except for the running joke that I have going, which I won't say on this podcast because
I forgot what that was all about.
I don't want to get in trouble for slander. You just got to cut it out. Remember with when Richie?
Oh yeah. He didn't want any of those on his team, so
I told Richie that Mark Scheifele is a child molester and that he should not have him on his team because that's just disgusting. I was like, yeah, that dude's a convicted child rapist. Like, you should look it up. And then he did look it up like an idiot. No, he did look it up. He was like, I don't see what you're talking about anywhere about Mark Scheifele, man. Like,
that was probably just his PR guy. His PR guy got all that removed. All right, Mark Scheifele, my number 8.
Cut that out.
He was an on-the-dot point per game guy. He had 60 points in 60 games. He was out of the lineup for 6 weeks with that shoulder injury where he crashed into the boards. That didn't slow him down. He had 125 shots in those 60 games, so just about 2 a game, but sustaining that wildly high shooting percentage. I gotta look up his shit. For some reason, I don't have his.
What don't you have?
I don't have a shooting percentage in my write-up.
His shooting percentage is 18.4 fucking percent.
Yeah, and it was what? It was like 20% the year before that, 20 on the dot. Yeah. So his career high or his career average is 14.9.
But he's also not taking a ton of shots.
So last year in 79 games, 2 years ago in 79 games, he took 160 shots and 32 of them went in for real even 20%. And I remember saying in last year's episodes that, there's no chance that happens. But, for this year, playing 3/4 of the same amount of games, he put up just about 3/4 amount of goals. So it seems like he's going to be a career high shooting percentage guy. He did improve on his face-off wins. He hit around 1 hit per game blocked about a half block per game, so 1 block every 2 games. 16 power play points in 60 games. So obviously we know the Jets are good as fuck. Scheifele's a stud. Another point per game season is on the way, and I'm going to guarantee that one too. A lot of these ones I'm going to guarantee because when we're talking about these top 10 centers, there's so little room for disparity. Like, these guys are tried and true.
So I mean, I'll say this. I definitely have no problem with you guaranteeing that he is a point per game player, because he is. He's going to be on that top line. He's getting the time on ice. He's not going to be playing with Patrik Laine. I'm okay with that. But he's really kind of steady on that time on ice where he's getting 20 plus minutes a game, and he's going to be playing with Kyle Connor this year. But on the other side, he's playing with Blake Wheeler. We love Blake Wheeler. I mean, What is there not to love? He's always just outside that top 10 in points, all like out of the whole league. So I mean,
Blake Wheeler's the whole package.
Scheifele is going to be a big part of that. He is he's an assist machine. I've seen him make some crazy awesome passes, and if he can stay healthy this year, it's not like he hasn't been a particularly healthy guy this past year. He just had a little bit of problems. But I do wish that he would take more shots. It's not like Kyle Connor is a super high shooter, although Blake Wheeler is. At some point in time, you still have to be scared of that high shooting percentage. I know it seems like that is just the trend of how he plays, but if he does regress, that's where he's going to regress. And if he's only taken 125, 130, 150 shots, if he regresses off that 18.4%, even down to like an 11, you're going to see a drastic drop in points. Now, I hope that doesn't happen.
I'd like to see him get up to like 3 shots a game.
Yeah, pretty much. I will say this: the entire top 6 in Winnipeg is incredibly draftable.
Oh yeah,
like wildly draftable. Maybe the worst part of that top 6 is Kyle Connor.
But even he put up 30 plus goals as a rookie last year. I'm excited to see what he does. All right, so how about let's do this real quick. Let's rank the top 6 in order of drafting. Are you drafting Scheifele or Laine first?
Laine.
And then Scheifele or then Wheeler?
Okay, so I think Laine is round 1. I think Wheeler is a round 2 talent. I think Scheifele is a round 3 talent. You think Scheifele is a round 2? I think, and don't get me wrong, I think Scheifele could go in the second round. But for me personally, even though I do have him at number 4, it is the shooting percentage that scares me, and I'm not gonna lie about that. So I would say that he's more of a 3rd round talent. Give me 1 second.
So Wheeler, he hit a point per game for the first time this year. He had 91 points in 81 games. I think I'm taking Wheeler. I'm going to take Scheifele first. So I'll agree with you. Patrik Laine gets drafted first out of these top 6. But then I think I'm going to go Scheifele and then Wheeler not far behind him at all. So
and then I think Head and Shoulder. So that's 3 out of the top 6.
Yeah.
Head and Shoulders is your second line left winger, Nikolai Ehlers. I think that's
behind him.
That's just hands down. But I think Nikolai Ehlers is probably more of like a 6. I would say 6 round.
Yeah.
How do you feel about 6 round?
6 is still a little early for me, but yeah, it's somewhere around there.
And then Brian Little is kind of going to be more of like, he's going to be double digits.
Yeah, he's late.
And Kyle Connor is going to be draftable, but probably not until like the 14th round for me.
Okay, I'll take that. So you're going Laine, then Wheeler, then Scheifele, Ehlers, Little, Connor. And I'm going Laine, Scheifele, Wheeler, and then I'll follow you suit 4 through 6.
Yeah, so I mean, I'm actually there. That is the most that TJ and I have agreed on something for a long, long time. And that would
just wait till we get to number 6.
Well, I can wait. Okay, so we talked about your number 8. We're going to talk about my number 8 next, and that is Nathan MacKinnon. Just wondering, where do you have MacKinnon?
MacKinnon, I think I have him number 4. Yep, number 4.
Okay, fair enough. So we actually flip-flopped. We flip-flopped our 4s and 8s.
Yep.
So I have MacKinnon at number 8. And I mean, in all honesty, that was one hell of a breakout year that MacKinnon had. It was, I'm not going to lie, it was impressive. And the Avs definitely don't plan on regressing, considering their offseason moves, especially picking up somebody like Grubauer, and getting that solid 1-2 punching goalie. And the top line of MacKinnon, Landeskog, and Rantanen looks to really be a good one. I mean, we already know what Landeskog is. He's a solid player who's always going to be there. His skill set, we already know it. Rantanen is kind of like the wild card in this one, and we'll see if Rantanen can really back up what him and MacKinnon did last year. Now, for me, they're a little top heavy, kind of like what we talked in the last segment with Dallas. But let's see if it was a flash in the pan.
Yeah, that drop off is pretty big.
Oh, the drop off is pretty solid. But I mean, in all honesty, I mean, Alexander Kerfoot is a fine player. Sven Andrighetto is a fine player. It's not like they're the worst second line, but they're certainly by far not the best. As far as MacKinnon goes, though, you can't argue with 97 points. I mean, it's hard.
74 games.
It's hard to do so. 39 goals, 58 assists. He's not killing it on a lot of other things except for shots. I mean, he took a good amount of shots. He took 284 shots.
I like his power play. 32 points on the power play.
I'll give you that. Okay, power play. He did. He actually did do very well on the power play
for faceoffs.
He had 12 power play goals, and then he also chipped in another 20 assists on the power play. But yeah, I mean, faceoffs he did pretty shitty. And that was with over 1,100 faceoffs. He was at 41.9%. So I'm
just being.
I know you're. Yeah, I am. I'm concerned, and I just don't know if this is the real Colorado Avalanche. Like, that's all. I hope it is, because don't get me wrong, I actually like the Colorado Avalanche. I don't dislike Nathan MacKinnon, but I don't think that he played like a first-round draft pick, but I don't think that he's a first-round draft pick. For me, it comes down to being that simple. I mean, his career shooting percentage is a 9.4. He happened to have a 13.7 this year. Like, he just totally demolished all of his previous highs.
But you got to consider that the last 3 years of his career outside of this one, he had a 6.4, 8.6, and a 7.3, which is low for even league standards. So maybe, and I do believe that he is a high shooting percentage guy. So I think 13.7 is what we're going to look at.
But just like we were talking about Sean Couturier, who it's like, okay, well, he doubled all of his previous highs. Sean Couturier didn't have first line. He wasn't out there on the first line. MacKinnon was. It's not like this is just the first time MacKinnon got thrown onto the first line.
Yeah. His previous career high was in his rookie year.
Yeah, I mean, he's always had really good deployment on pretty much everything.
He actually played 3 seconds less on average this year. But, I mean, it was a shit show year for them last year. I have no idea what happened. But, yeah, I'll agree with you, man. I have some issues here, but I am kind of comfortable having him at number 4.
Don't get me wrong. I'm fine with having him in my top 10. Number 4 is just way too early for me. That's all.
All right. So, like we were saying, man, 97 points in 74 games. That is 1.31 points per game. Jesus, fuck. So that's good for second in the league behind McDavid, and that's just one. That's 0.01 behind him. So my issue is his previous career high, like we were saying, of 63 points and a shooting percentage 4% over his average. He did have a career low shooting percentage last year, but that was during the shit show year that Colorado had. I do believe that this is the elite talent that we're going to be looking at, and he will be able to sustain a high shooting percentage. Again, my concern is that he hasn't done it before. The chances for a repeat like this are slim. So we said 32 power play shots, almost 300 or 32 power play points, almost 300 shots. He's got some work to do in the faceoff circle. Like we fucking talked about that. He's not being drafted for that. He's not the guy for the physical stuff. He did have 55 penalty minutes, which is not bad for you guys to have that as a counting stat. So I'm definitely comfortable with MacKinnon as my number 4 after a year where his average draft position was over 100. So he was like a 11 or 12th round pick last year. He had to have been the biggest steal of the draft. His status as an under radar player is like way gone. Like there's no shot he's gonna get snagged in the first 3 rounds. I'm leaning towards the 3rd round. I'll agree with you on this one. He's not a first round draft pick, even though he played like that. I'm leaning towards the 3rd round because he is still a high risk, high reward player. I'd rather go for somebody tried and true in those first couple rounds. Somebody is likely going to grab MacKinnon way too early, but like I said, go for those tried and true guys. That's my way to go. I'd love to see him go in the 3rd round and would definitely take him then, but I don't think it's going to happen. I think somebody else is going to go for him, seeing the 97 points in 74 games. The projections are going to probably be way out the ass in ESPN and Yahoo, and somebody's going to snag him, but just go with those guys that are just consistent.
So that's what I'm trying to get at, though. So at your number 4, you have Nathan MacKinnon, and you're saying he's a 3rd round guy. That just seems really late for I don't know. Seems a little late. Okay.
Yeah, you could be right. Because I think the guys I have ranked at number 5 and number 6 and even number 7 could be 1st or 2nd round guys, but I don't know. I think he was the 4th best center on the list, but that's why I have him so high, but also have to add in the fact that I'm not taking him until the 3rd round. So I
gotta use my eye test. All right. So moving forward.
Number 7, yeah.
Number 7. Couple of here. Hey, you want to let's throw something. You want to rock, paper, scissors for who goes first?
All right, yeah, go ahead.
Okay. You ready?
Rock, paper, scissors, shoot. Paper.
Okay.
You got scissors. You win.
So I'm winning. Okay. Good, because every chance I get to talk about Auston Matthews, I want to go first to really kind of lay into my point. Where you have Matthews? You have Matthews like number 1, right?
I have Matthews number 5.
No, you have like number 5, yeah. So I have him number 7. I'm actually surprised you have him higher than I do.
Yeah, so we were saying 8 and 4 for us were flip flopped. 5 and 7 for us are flip flopped too.
Oh wow, really?
Yep.
Okay, fair enough.
So it's like a bookend thing going on right now.
Okay, so I'm going to start out with this. One thing I'm actually a little pissed about. I love the fact that Nylander is still going to be playing with Matthews. They're fantastic together. I wish Zach Hyman was on that first line. Why is Zach Hyman playing on the second line instead of fucking Patrick Marleau?
It's going to be good.
Patrick Marleau is like 60 years old. Why is he not on at least the second line? I mean, honestly, I don't know who else they would put on that second line unless they could, I don't know, what, Kasperi Kapanen or something like that. Okay, so that being said, and even though I'm a little pissed about that, Matthews and Nylander have like this great rapport, and they've really proven that they work well together. And I personally think that Matthews is like a generational talent, but that's just me. He went number 1 for a reason, and that is because he is better than Patrick Laine, no matter what Patrick Laine thinks. One thing I am worried about, and this will make a difference for Auston Matthews' season. Don't get it twisted. William Nylander is a restricted free agent, and he is still looking for a long-term deal. It has not happened. I am to understand that his agent and the Maple Leafs are still working together. I believe that they will get it done because just like we were talking about before with some other teams, we said this about the Wild. The time for the Maple Leafs is right fucking now.
Yeah.
They have this super young team. This is the time that they need to do it. Okay, because when it comes down to in the future, my guess is it's going to come down to, okay, who are we keeping, Austin Matthews or Mitch Marner? Later, Mitch.
Kyle Dubas seems to believe he can get all three signed.
It's going to be hard to do, especially when you already have John Tavares on that team.
You got Marleau. Marleau's got like 3 more years at 6.5 or something outlandish like that.
They're going to have to fucking move him. I don't believe that they can keep Nylander, Matthews, and Marner. It's going to be really fucking hard to do. But step number 1 is getting Nylander down with a long-term deal, so this kid isn't playing the beginning of his season, being an RFA, and really kind of wondering his future about the team. I want his head to be on straight because that's going to only help Austin Matthews. Now, as for Matthews, as far as last season goes, it's not like he didn't have the best season in the world. He had a decent season. He had 63 points, 34 goals, 29 assists. Now, don't get me wrong, he had a better rookie season. That's
actually, no, I like his because he only played 62 games, so he was above a point per game last year, and then the year
that's true. I'll give you that. So I mean, he was hurt quite a bit last year. So he only had 34 goals. I don't want him getting PIMS because I want the generational. Well, I don't. Stay
healthy, bud.
There's like one guy on each team that like you don't want hitting people. They're more important to you on the ice, obviously, than anything else. So I want him on the ice. He doesn't hit. Surprise, surprise. He did have 61 blocks, which he needs to get the fuck out of the way.
Yeah.
Don't block. I want you to have 0 blocks unless you just happen to like run into a friggin' puck. Now, as we were saying, with him only playing 62 games last season, his numbers are going to be a little slighted. He had 187 shots, but he did shoot at an 18.2 clip. Now, as far as his career average goes, in the 2 years that he's been in the league, he's at a 15.9. So I don't think 18% is really totally out of like, you know what I mean? Totally out of the norm.
And like you're saying, he's a generational talent. He's going to be a career high shooting percentage guy.
And the same thing goes for his faceoff wins. His first year in the league, he was below 50%. This past year, he was at 54.5%.
Yeah, big improvements there.
Okay, and that's the kind of thing that you really want to see going into your second year. It's just a comfortability thing. So I have him at number 7. I have no problem with you having him at number 5. Now I will say above number 5 for this year, I think it would be hard to put him higher than number 5. As much as I love Austin Matthews, and I'm just saying this year, next year, 2 years from now, he's going to be I honest to God think that he is going to be a top 3 center in the league, and I don't think there's any doubt about that, or at least I don't have any.
Yeah, he's. I mean, he was in his 2 years in the NHL. He has 132 points in 144 games, so he's nearing in on a career point per game career. But he did miss a total of 20 games last year, and that accounts for 12% of his NHL career. I know that I'm probably reading way too much into this. You know, he's only 2 years in. Drafting Matthews and then having him on your bench for 20 games really puts a bad taste in your mouth. So, like you're saying, he's still like probably a first-round guy, second round even. But if he can produce at a point per game in those 62 games with 34 goals, 29 assists, 13 power play points. If he can stay healthy this year and having John Tavares on the team now, that's going to divert attention away from him. So he could easily be an 85-point player. Just imagine him going up against Boston, and Boston decides to put Bergeron up against Tavares. And then Austin Matthews doesn't have to play against Bergeron. As we know, he was kept quiet in the playoffs last year against that line. That would mean that Austin Matthews is now going up against David Krejci, who he's going to fucking torch all night. So, dude, so I think Austin Matthews can easily hit. He can be a 100-point player in the next few years, maybe even this year. His shots did dip a bit down from 3.4 shots a game in his rookie year to 3 shots a game this year. But you heard me before. I like those 3 shots a game. Not a crazy dip. And there's nothing to say that he can't bring that back up. And that's not to say that 3 shots a game is bad. I'm just stating the facts there. So I really like Matthews. I'm surprised you have Tavares ahead of Matthews, considering that Matthews is the first line center and then Tavares is the second line guy. But I have Tavares down at 7. So if you want me, I'll jump right into him.
Okay, yeah. I mean, there's no reason not to. Let's just stick in Toronto, and you start off on Tavares, and I'll tell you why I had him at 5. Go ahead.
All right. So Tavares had 30 power play points, 37 goals, 47 assists, 257 shots, and a 53% face-off win percentage on a team that's way worse than the Maple Leafs. The move to Toronto has people in the media calling for a 100-point season from both Matthews and Tavares this year. Like, it's crazy. I'm not so sure I'm on board with that, but I do see Tavares passing the point per game mark once again this year, with probably upside for like 90 to 95 points. The power play is going to be disgusting. Marner is going to see a boost, and I think John Tavares is going to see a boost too.
Okay,
Done.
so
mic drop.
Mic drop. I'm fine with having them switched. I am. It's just that John Tavares is John fucking Tavares.
It's a fucking traitor.
He's great. I can't help it. No, in all seriousness, I mean, John Tavares is...
I'm glad he got traded. Fucking Matt Barzal's way better anyway.
Matt Barzal.
John Tavares didn't even make my top.
Yeah, Okay, so John Tavares has been in the league for 9 seasons. That's why I'm putting him at number 5 ahead of Austin Matthews. He is super proven. He is super steady. Last year he had 84 points. You know what I mean? He's had more 80-point seasons than Matthews has been in the league. Okay, so that's where I'm coming from. He's still slotting into a really good line. He's going to be playing with Zach Hyman, who is a young, hungry player. And then on the other side, he has Mitch Marner, who's another young, hungry player. Like, they all pass well, except for John Tavares. So pretty much all they need to do is skate around, pass the puck to John Tavares. He's going to throw the puck on net. And Mitch Marner is going to do the same. Now, I don't think that Zach Hyman is going to get the kind of goals that he has in the past 2 years. But I think it's a really good spot for John. And I mean, in all honesty, hey, congratulations, John Tavares. Congrats, man.
You got the fuck out.
You're out of New York. And not only are you out of New York, but you're at a contender.
That's exactly what he was going for.
With the addition of John Tavares, Toronto is a serious contender. Not just a contender like possible, but like a serious contender in the East. And
they don't even need to play 82 games. They should just go on vacation for the regular season and then just wind up in the playoffs as the first seed.
But yeah, I mean, I think he's going to what I think is honestly like the perfect spot for him. Like, it was either this or the only spot that could have been better for him is maybe Tampa.
Yeah, I guess he could have. He could have pushed Tyler Johnson out of that center spot.
Fuck yeah, he could have. I mean, I might be able to push Tyler Johnson out of that center spot.
All right, at number 6, we agree on Evgeny Malkin.
Woo! Agreeing again.
Malkin was just behind. He was just behind McKinnon and just ahead of Kucherov in points per game. I'm going to start right there. That's Evgeny Malkin for you. So he fell 2 points shy of hitting the 100-point mark this year with 42 goals, 56 assists. He hauled in 87 penalty minutes, scored 14 goals on the power play, and 24 power play assists for 38 power play points all day. He shot 239 times at 17.6. He's fucking trash on faceoffs, but he still takes them. And he laid out pretty, a few hits here and there. Malkin's an all-around stud. He gets those shots. He gets penalty minutes, power play points, offensive numbers. And when he is healthy, he's one of the top 3 forwards in the game. But keep in mind, over the last 5 seasons, that Malkin has missed 84 games. That's an entire season in the last 5 seasons that he has not played. That's over 20% of his games. That's why he's ranked lower on my list. That's why he is a high risk, high reward, but nonetheless one of the best centers in the game. Easily the best second-line center that's in the NHL right now.
Yeah, hands down. And the whole thing is, I mean, so you said he missed 84 games in 5 seasons. Unfortunately, even though it didn't happen last year, and I was super fucking surprised, a lot of those games that he has missed aren't from injury. They aren't from anything else other than it's Pittsburgh. They already made the playoffs. So, I mean, why fucking play everybody?
Yeah,
so
usually they're the first people to clinch.
Yeah, I mean, Malkin would sit out on average probably like
the last 7 games of the year.
Yeah, 10 games or so. On top of throughout the year, he would get a couple of random days off that are just kind of rest days. But when you have Sidney Crosby on the first line, and then you also have Phil Kessel on that second line playing with Malkin, there was a time where Phil Kessel was the leading point getter on that team this year. So Malkin can sit out a game, and Phil Kessel can man that second line.
Yeah,
they just kind of put in little pieces. They'll put in Connor Sheary here, and they're not going to do that this year, but
they have enough. They patchwork it.
Yeah, so they put in all these players that most people don't know of. You know what I mean?
Aston Reese.
Yeah,
Sprong. Just turn them into superstars. All you need to do is be downwind of Sidney Crosby, and you're awesome at hockey.
Exactly. So it's it could be Malkin, Kessel, and you on the second line, and they're going to be a badass line. You guys are going to kick ass, TJ.
I'll be +10, and I will never touch the puck.
All you need to do is stand at the circle and just pass it as soon as you get it, like it's fucking fire on your stick. Just get rid of the puck and pass it to Phil Kessel or Evgeny Malkin. But yeah, so I mean, how can you complain about 98 points though?
No, you can't. Top 3 in the league for points per game.
And it's 78 games, no less. I mean, that
he hasn't played 78 games since 2008, 2009, and 2007, 2008. He played 2 healthy seasons. Since then, he has never played a full season.
Yeah, and I mean, the
next closest is 11-12 when he put up a league-leading 109 points.
Yeah, I mean, to say the least, it is BANANAS. This shit is bananas.
So at number 5, we already talked about Matthews and Tavares. Number 4, I talked about McKinnon, and you talked about Scheifele. Let's get into the top 3. What do you say?
Okay. Hey, do you want to do the let's do our little inclusion,
like the hey, welcome back.
Whatever. Yeah, I got it. I can take care of those since you take care of the beginning and the ending. That right, and I do most of the kind of intermediate stuff anyway.
Sure.
All right, so you are back with 5-Hole Fantasy. We are talking about center rankings today. You're with TJ Branson, and I'm Zach Vogel. We are getting into the meat and potatoes, top 3. If you don't know who the top 3 centers are, then, well, in all honesty, you should just stop listening now.
Because yeah, you have not been paying attention.
Okay, so.
So again, we have the same 3, just in different orders. This always seems to happen. Like the top 3 is so easy. It's just where do you put them?
Yeah, I think we have the same number 3 though, right?
No, my number 3 is your number 1.
What?
Yeah, so there's a little bit of disparity. We do not agree on any of the top 3 here. So why don't?
Okay, yeah, I mean, well then you know what? I say we just talk about each of them. We'll start. Let's go, Sidney Crosby.
Okay.
So we're already talking about Malkin. Let's just stay in Pittsburgh. Right. So kind of like what we were talking about just now, that whole like front line, especially playing with Sidney Crosby, just always seems to be in flux. And then it's that second line with Malkin and Kessel that those three players are always slotted into their spots. Like it's going to happen that way. And then they kind of move players around. We named a couple of them, throw Jake Gensel's name in there. And it's like, there's always just random players that they put with these guys. But when you're Sidney fucking Crosby, and as much as I hate Sidney freaking Crosby, he is, you want to talk about another generational player. Like he just is like, he's going to moonwalk into the fucking NHL Hall of Fame. Like,
yeah, we've seen this guy do one-handed top shelf goals.
Oh my, that backhand one, the backhanded one-handed top shelf goal.
It's Sidney fucking Crosby.
While he was getting dragged to the ice.
He's good at hockey.
God damn it!
There's no reason for us to like defend his numbers or anything. He's Sidney Crosby. Like, it's easy enough. If you're making it into the top 3 right now, like we don't have to defend this. It's just people want to argue, oh, he's number 1. Yeah, fine, whatever. On top of the points, he's so good.
Yeah, on top of the fact that most likely he's going to be playing with Jake Gensel this year, who he is at least has some time with. Yeah. And then he's going to have a healthy Patrick Hornquist coming back.
Okay, yeah, I mean, that's an intimidating first line, and then you got the number 1 power play in the NHL.
Yeah,
which he's on, and he hasn't shot less than 237 shots in 5 years straight. Face-off percentage at 53%, decent amount of hits and blocks, whatever. 38 points on the power play too, man. He's Sidney fucking Crosby. He's good at hockey. Draft him in the first round. Done.
Yeah, I mean, he's easily a first round, like top 5 kind of guy. Unless you're in a league that like really holds goalies heavy, then he's still a top 5.
Yeah, like there's no chance.
It's just the way it is. And I mean, just like every other year, especially with this whole Hornquist thing coming back, him and Crosby play really well together. It's just going to be another year where smart money is to pick fucking Pittsburgh coming out of the East. I mean, thank God there's other teams that have made like real advances. Like we were saying, Toronto's fantastic. Tampa Bay is fucking fantastic. The East is gonna be killer. And what I'm worried about is the East is just going to beat up on each other
so much all year.
While the very few good teams out in the West are just going to be able to fucking cruise all year long.
This is going to be a real fun year to watch.
I think so too.
So you have Crosby at number 3. I have Crosby at number 2. That leaves our number 1 and number 3 open.
Okay.
My number 3, Steven Stamkos. The Tampa Bay Lightning are on top of it. The Tampa Bay Lightning are on, if not, what the fuck? What did I write? I don't even know what I wrote here. The Tampa Bay Lightning could be the most potent offense in the NHL.
Could be.
Yeah. Goals per game. I think they were either second or third NHL goals per game leaders. Let's see. I just want the teams. Team. What the hell? So the page I brought up is like nothing but fucking cheerleaders right now. It's just cheerleaders.
Oh, so it is porn.
Could be. What the fuck is this, man? Like, why?
Okay, just say what you were going to say. I shouldn't have stopped you.
So the Tampa Bay Lightning are easily one of the most potent offenses in the league. And Stamkos centers that top line and top power play. He put up 27 goals last year and 86 points in a certain amount of games played. God damn it. I don't know.
78.
in 78 games played. He put in 72 PIMs, over 200 shots, 61 hits, face-offs at 52.2%, and a plus-minus of +18. He's easily a point per game guy. 33 points on the power play makes him easily one of the top 5 centers in next year's draft. I could see an argument for some of my lower ranked guys to be in the number 3 spot, but guys like McKinnon, Matthews, Malkin, they all have their own issues. McKinnon exploded last year. Matthews regressed, missed some time. Malkin had a career high 78 games played last year since those 82 game years. But it isn't as consistent as Malkin injuries. So I'm really high on Stamkos this year. I'm just really going with my gut, having him at number 3. And I can see you're really high on him too.
I mean, I'm definitely high on him. You have him at number 3. I am at number fucking 1. Stammer's the head of one of the most potent teams and potent lines in the entire hockey league. Okay, what I would consider maybe the best line, if not the very close second, behind Boston's first line.
So what I want to hear is, how do you have him at number 1? What makes him more interesting to you than Connor McDavid?
Okay. The team around him. It all comes down to the team around him. So next to him, he is JT Miller, who is just a speed guy who can really get down, who can get down the ice. As much as I don't like JT Miller's face, he is a fantastic player. He has great hands, gets down the ice, does the forechecking. On the other side, he is Kucherov. Okay, one of the best goal scorers in the game, one of the best hands in the game. So they check all of these boxes off. And then behind him, you got Victor Hedman, who's one of the best defensemen in the game. He has all of these points. There's just going to be points to be had. Stamkos gets a lot of them. I think it's easy to say that they're going to have another great year, and so is Stamkos as long as he stays healthy. That was obviously his problem 2 years ago, but in general, he's a pretty healthy guy. Other than the 2 years ago where he only played 17 games, he's only missed 11 games in the past, other than those, in the past 4 years. So
yeah, you can't blame a guy for tearing his ACL. That shit just happens. And it didn't slow him down in the least bit.
He's still a point per game player. He had 86 points in 78 games. Now I understand he didn't have 100 plus, like somebody else that we're going to talk about. And don't get me wrong, it's a huge deal. You have 100 plus points.
Stamkos is also a guy that has scored 60 goals in a year in his career, and 51 at a point. So he scored over 40 goals 1, 2, 3, 4 times in his 10-year career. I mean, number 1, that's a little out there for me, but I can understand your argument.
But he's gonna help you out on PIMs. He's at 72 PIMs last year, and another thing that I love, his career average for shooting percentage. There's not many times where I'm going to say, hey, this guy's shooting percentage is down, therefore he's a number 1. You know what I mean? His shooting percentage for his career is 16.7. Last year, it was 12.7. All right, he took 212 shots. If he brings that up to his regular average, he's gonna have another 6 goals on top of that, TJ.
Another 12.
What? You just did the math?
Yeah. 12 goals. 6% of 100 shots would be 6 goals. So I just doubled that.
So I mean, he brings his shooting percentage up back to his career high, because it's not like he took way he took way less shots than he has in the future. I mean, he had 1 year where he took more than 300 shots, and that was all the way back in 11 and 12.
That was the year he scored 60 goals too.
Yeah. So if he takes a lot more than 212 shots and he gets his shooting percentage back up to what his average is for his long career, it's not like he just got into the league. I mean, he's been playing for 10 seasons.
Yeah. He would break 30, no problem. Probably pushing 35, even close to 40 if he's career average.
So my whole thing is he has 100 plus ceiling and an 85-point floor.
Yeah.
A fucking 85-point floor. And it all comes down to who he's playing with. And that's why I have McDavid at number 2, because as much as I like Ryan Nugent-Hopkins, Ty Ratty, come on.
You know that's going to be Kyler Yamamoto or somebody by the end of the year. They're not going to stick with him.
Come the fuck on.
But, I mean, Stamkos put Vladislav Nemesnikov into pretty much into superstar. Like, he turned from a stream to a hold. And I think that maybe the same thing can happen with Ty Ratty. Look at what happens with Sidney Crosby. So the guys that play alongside of our top 3 centers are going to get better no matter who they are.
Don't get me
Ty
wrong.
Ratty is going to be, a shit player on his own, but if he's playing with Connor McDavid, then he's going to be good, and he's going to help McDavid play even better.
Don't get me wrong. Ty Ratty is worth picking up on a daily streamer, but
yeah,
but are you going to draft him?
No shot.
No
shot. Nobody's drafting Daniel Sprong. Nobody's drafting fucking Vladislav Nemesnikov.
Yeah, but people are going to draft JT Miller.
Oh yeah. JT Miller hits too.
Even when he was on fucking New York, people were drafting JT Miller.
Yeah,
because he was worthwhile having. He has a team of Stamkos just has a team of weapons around him that are going to help him get these points. All he needs to do is just pull the fucking trigger. Connor McDavid is fantastic. He is another generational player. He had 108 points last year. You know what I mean? Like,
on a shitty team. Well,
but
imagine what happens.
But it comes down to
the team comes back to them.
It comes down to the fact that they spent too much money on 2 players, TJ. They spent too much money on him and Draisaitl. So now they have trash players around them, and except for Ryan Nugent-Hopkins, tell me another player on that team that's fucking decent. Go ahead, I'll wait. Should I hold my breath, or no? I probably shouldn't hold my breath.
But this is a perfect thing. Is I can bring it up and I'll defend my case. Is McDavid put up 2 100-point seasons with a shittier team around him. So
yeah, I mean that's your case, and that's you could stop right there. You could say my case is I'm going to get 100 points out of this guy. Don't get me wrong. That's a fantastic fucking case.
What happens if the Edmonton Oilers come back and put up numbers like they did 2 years ago?
Who's going to do it? Who's going to help him?
Ryan Nugent-Hopkins, Leon Draisaitl, Cam Talbot could not be a shitbox this year. Oscar Klefbom could actually play a little defense and even a little offense this year. So you get guys around you that can do it. It's just that nobody fucking did it last year. So if they're the team from 2 years ago, then Connor McDavid's pushing 110 points, no problem.
But they traded all those guys away. Those guys that helped them get to the spot that they were at 2 years ago, they traded them away. Yeah, Ryan Eberle was a big part of that team 2 years ago. It's not like he was a fucking amazing player, but he was a big part of that team. He's a lot better than fucking Jesse Puljujarvi.
So I don't know. I guess I was just taken aback. I was taken aback by the fact that you have Stamkos at number 1. Really taken aback. I think McDavid's a surefire number 1 overall pick in every single league.
I mean,
and I'll take that bet. If you want to take a bet at the end of the year, who gets more points, McDavid or Stamkos? I think me and 99% of everybody else.
I'm not going to make that bet because I don't want to give you whatever we're going to bet. I agree. McDavid is going to get it's just who he is. But also chances
Stamkos
are
does have that rest of that stuff.
You can't tell me I'm wrong, and I'm not saying that you're wrong. I think that McDavid is a great player. I don't like him, but he is a great player. He's going to get 100+ points. It is true, but he doesn't do anything else. I mean, other than shots, he doesn't do anything else. He doesn't take a lot of faceoffs. When he does take faceoffs, he fucking sucks at them.
No,
they don't want him blocking the puck. They don't really even want him hitting people. The only times that he gets PIMs is because he has early Sidney Crosby syndrome where he starts fucking problems and then somebody else has to finish it for him. So he'll get like tripping calls and shit like that. But as soon as somebody tries to fight him, they break it up. You were not allowed to hit him. He is the fucking golden child. So
I think he's going to be the number one guy, no doubt. And it's only going to get better too. The chemistry with Nugent Hopkins could be even better. We've never seen Ty Ratty in a first line role, so maybe he's going to be awesome. We don't know that.
We saw Ty Ratty in a first line role at the end of last year. Hell, I picked him up a couple of times.
I think it's going to work. I think doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if it's Daniel Sprong with Crosby or if it's Mesnikov or JT Miller, who's actually a good player on his own. But you can put trash. You can put a fucking bag of pucks on the first line with Connor McDavid, and you're still going to get an assist or two. So I got McDavid at number one. I thought it was easy enough. He's a two-time Art Ross winner. He plays big minutes. He has 200-point seasons under his belt. Has not had a season under a point per game. He's got high shooting rates, which seem to be permanent. He's, like we were saying, shit for faceoffs, but we're drafting this guy just for the offense. It's your number one pick overall. You need to get that offense. If anyone passes on McDavid as number one overall, I think there's something wrong with you up top. But his chemistry with RNH was as a winger is going to propel that into this upcoming year. I'm really optimistic he's going to be able to do the 100-point year again. I think a lot of people are going to agree with me on this one. McDavid number one, Crosby number two. I would even accept the argument of Stamkos number two.
I don't think Stamkos in number three. I just don't.
I'm happy with that list. All right, so everybody,
I'm not hating on your list, but I'm certainly not fucking hating on mine either.
I thought it was a little bit curious that that was the first thing I thought. That was the first thing I thought when I saw your list. I was like, whoa, okay, that's a shock right there. But your argument is valid. I think, yeah, I hope you get the number one pick this year.
So do I.
And you take Steven Stamkos.
I'll take Leon Draisaitl.
All right. And I hope I get the number two pick. I'll take McDavid. All right. So everybody, that is it for our center rankings.
Real quick.
Okay.
It is already 9:07.
Do you want to do defenseman another day?
You said you have off on Wednesday too, right?
Yeah.
So do I. Do you want to just do, because then we can do defenseman on Wednesday and have this episode and then have a really quick like defenseman episode. That one will probably only take us an hour and 15 minutes, hour and a half probably.
Yeah, I can plug those two together, like splice them in, make it one episode.
I mean, even if you have to, they could be two separate episodes.
Yeah.
It's not like they can't, because this one's going to be another solid hour and a half episode.
Yeah.
By itself. And then that one would be like a 40-minute episode. So
what I'll do is at the beginning when we were like, oh, this is centers and defensemen, I'll cut the defenseman parts out. And then I'll wrap it up for the outro coming up.
Okay.
Here. All right,
yeah,
guys.
I think it's a good idea just because I see Vicky walking back and forth and I'm sure she wants to.
I still got to pick up Desi.
Yeah, I'm sure she wants to get her claws into you. You got to go pick up Desi.
Oh, I'm sure she does.
I still got to make dinner. So you know how I have a fig tree? Did I tell you that?
I saw Karina put a picture up on Instagram. I saw that you guys got like a shit ton of figs.
Yeah, because we were getting no figs ripening, and then it started like raining like crazy in the past 3 weeks. Where
same here.
Where it like rains every fucking day. So like the figs, it's just like figs every fucking day, dude. I have like
bacon and fig.
I have like
guacamole.
7 pounds of figs. So I'm making I'm gonna make a bunch of fig and strawberry jam today.
Cool. Yeah, I was just gonna say that make a really good jam.
And I'll bring some up.
Right on, man. I'll eat it.
All right, go ahead. Go ahead. Outro.
All right, guys. That is it for our center rankings. Let us know what you guys think. We know that everybody likes to throw their hat into the ring when rankings come up, and we want to know what you guys think. Where do you have your favorite player? How are we wrong? How come Matt Barzal wasn't on our list, even though the Islanders are the greatest fucking team in the goddamn world, and Matt Barzal should be number one? This is ridiculous. But anyway, guys, you can find us at FHF Hockey. Let us know where we're wrong. Let us know what you guys think. And yeah, we hope you have a good night. Listen for us next time. We're going to be ranking defensemen and probably going to argue about some stuff because, well, actually, no, there's no Calgary guys on my list. So, yeah, The next episode.
What are you gonna put Mike Giordano number 3?
No. But yeah, I mean, the defenseman rankings is going to be a good episode. I hope you guys tune in for that one too. So until next time, guys. Love yous.
Love yous.
All right.
Actually, his name is Mark Giordano.
Yeah, I think you called Jordan Eberle Ryan Eberle too.
Did I?
Yeah, but then you started a sentence and just said Eberle. So I'm going to be able to cut the Ryan Eberle thing out.
I didn't mean to call him Mike Giordano either. As soon as I said it, I was like, "Fuck."
That's all right. I totally planned on cutting all that out. Yeah, man. So we'll talk to you on Wednesday.
All right. Yeah. Yeah. I'll talk to you then. Okay.
All right, bud. See you later.
All right. Later.